Kam Prefecture belonged to the Great Liang's dynasty border prefecture, overlooking the precipice mountain of the Sea of Clouds. 2. That was near the Cloud Cover Empire. 3. The precipice mountain of the Sea of Clouds was one of Liangshan continent's largest mountains. The borderless grasslands extended 10 million li, and every windy season appeared to be a rolling sea of clouds. The scent of the cloud aromatic herb even floated into Kam Prefecture's 10 towns, thus giving it the name. In addition, beyond the plains at the ends of the precipice mountain was the extremely remote and timeless White Tiger territory. The Cloud Cover Empire used to be more than 100 nomadic tribes, fighting hand-to-hand incessantly year in, year out, continuously in a state of division. Due to a leader that appeared in the flourishing Orchid clan. 5. There were changes. He carried out countless campaigns, allying the 100,000 tribes to form the Cloud Cover Empire. Since then, there was fear of the iron hoof of the oppressor at Liangshan. Due to frequent raids by scattered bandits, as a result, the several prefectures, counties and towns at the precipice mountain of the Sea of Clouds were guarded by fierce troops. Stone tablet cities, 6 walls had been built to several tens of zhang high, the city towers inside the clouds, appearing to be fierce teeth. From the high altitudes overlooking the city's imposing vastness, it was just like a crawling giant creature. Because the 4 sides were all connected, Stone Tablet City was also exceptionally prosperous. With the flourishing orchid in the western regions, the barbarians in the northern borders saw visitors from all over. After 7 days, Su Xing arrived at Stone Tablet City. He did not conceal his appearance at all, and with the type of fenced-off frontier area Kam Prefecture was, news of star cultivator sex in the middle of the plains was very difficult to be transmitted here. Even if it was passed on to here, this place's sex were sparse and harmless. Lin Yingmei and the rest were not hiding within the star nest, confidently following to the left and right of Su Xing, making him out to be an influential family's son going on a tour. With maids that were like clouds in appearance, those other star cultivators would not doubt these 4-star generals were attendants serving him. At this time, Su Xing's group stood at Stone Tablet City's center plaza under an immense stele. The stele's height reached 3 zhang. It was created from Precipice Mountain's dirt, engraved with the 10 words of, "Vast vital energy exists, the stone tablet suppresses supernatural beings." 7. Each word nearly half the size of a person, the stroke intent ancient and inelegant, the strokes themselves powerful and forceful, straight and winding, an unexpectedly direct power whistling under the blue dome of heaven. It was nothing special at first glance, but after a moment of attentive examination, suddenly one would feel dizzy. The whole person unexpectedly could not help but take a step backwards, making Su Xing unable to help exclaim in surprise. Such a despotic imposing manner. 10 years before, Cloud Cover Empires and the Vermilion Bird Territories Ghoul, 8 clans colluded to refine tens of thousands of demon cavalry, 9, and divine generals, 10, that directly entered Liangshan, attacking the 7 prefectures and 100 cities. Liang Huizong himself led a campaign and met the enemy head-on, breaking the enemy 1,000 li to this stone-steel city. They say that some remaining demon cavalry and divine generals are suppressed underneath this stone tablet. 99 demon-suppressing seals have been added onto it. Henceforth the steel-suppressing border. 11. The cloud cover's evil monsters do not dare approach anymore. Wu Xinjie had just opened her mouth to explain when a voice that sounded as if it had been through a lot stole her discussion. The group turned and saw a gray elderly man. Wearing a great Liang Emperor's brocade, his star energy deep and resounding, it unexpectedly was a galaxy middle-stage cultivator from the great Liang dynasty's court. This one beneath you is Jiang Yundao. 12. Respectfully presenting the assigned guard to the devil-suppressing stone tablet. 13. Is this the first time all of you have come to Stone Tablet City? Jiang Yundao magnanimously smiled. This one beneath you is Yun Yuzi, for, to be polite. Su Xing bowed as he held his hands in front of him. As senior says, this happens to be the first time we have come to the stone tablet. Fellow certainly must by all means not harbor thoughts of striking this devil-sealing steel. Jiang Yundao's tone was severe, his eyes flashing radiantly, a powerful imposing air rushing out and pressing towards Su Xing. Su Xing smiled. Senior misunderstands. On Emperor Liang's treasures, how could this youth dare to have nosy intentions? Jiang Yundao's eyelids jumped. Seeing a nebula cultivator unexpectedly not change under his imposing manner, he could not help but take notice of the seemingly distinguished Su Xing. He relaxed his pressure, stroking his beard with a pleasant countenance. This Taoist is too worried. Please do not take offense, fellow. Could it be said there are those with the idea to strike the stone tablet? Su Xing asked. It is hard to fathom a person's mind. Jiang Yundao lightly smiled. The Heavenly Prosperity Establishment of Stone Tablet City's eastern area recently has a Heavenly Star recruiting a master. This fellow's appearance is out of the ordinary, your beauty's like clouds. You actually could go take a look. Even this Jiang Yundao knew, so Su Xing then asked, interested, about this matter of a star general recruiting a master. Perhaps he previously thought he had wrongly gauged Su Xing. That Jiang Yundao would use this as recompense entirely overturned his appraisal. Half a year ago, the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment at Stone Tablet City opened its doors for business. Originally, this was not considered anything big. At Stone Tablet City, there were countless restaurants, tea houses and institutions conducting business every day, but on the second day, the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment's owner, 16, just suddenly issued grand word, Heavenly Star recruiting a master. The Heavenly Prosperity Establishment prepared trials, and as long as one could stand on the platform at the end, a Heavenly Star general would be willing to offer herself to the master, signing a star dual covenant. This news immediately exploded in Stone Tablet City, and everyone was discussing this matter. 36 Heavenly Spirit Star Generals. No one was unaware of the Liangshan continent's star duels, and signing a contract with a star general was like walking in the clear sky. A few earthly stars ordinarily were heavenly dragons with their heads seen but their tails unseen, 17, in sight but unattainable. A grand heavenly star publicly recruiting a master in the Azure Dragon territory was rarely seen. In a moment, Calm Prefecture, Jasper Prefecture, Itin Heart Prefecture, 19, and even the Cloud Cover Empire all had been startled. Star cultivators that were attracted here jumped in eagerly, and 3 days scarcely had passed since the proclamation when the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment's customers became the most in Stone Tablet. However, this Heavenly Star Master recruitment's trial of language passes 3 checkpoints, military slays 6 generals, was considered harsh. The qualification to enter the door first of all required participation in a solo lifting of 2,000 Gene, 20 copper lions. Afterwards, the party was entitled to enter passes 3 checkpoints and slays 6 generals. Some people began to doubt whether or not the owner was deliberately playing to the gallery. However, she continuously made solemn guarantees that 7 candidates were assembled, they would begin. The others had nothing to say, but half a year since, only 6 candidates had been assembled, and along with the passage of time, the star cultivators' enthusiasm began to ebb. Yet the time those nobles stayed at the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment let them linger, their vitality actually exceedingly flourishing. What if there continues to be no 7th? Then it will continue to never begin? Su Xing could not help but ask. However, the Great Liang is a galaxy of talent. It is unlikely to go as far as not being able to gather the 7? Jiang Yundao shook his head. It is just that Stone Tablet City's position is remote. The Central Plains Great Sect, 21, actually seldom comes, but this cannot be helped. People do not dare make sense of a heavenly star's conditions. Do you know which heavenly star? Wu Xinjie asked. This is not clear. She will not appear before the final juncture, and it is said that heavenly star is scrutinizing from the dark. Although Jiang Yundao said as such, his eyes nevertheless revealed a trace of disdain. Perhaps he felt this only was a trick the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment's owner arranged to raise the popularity of the restaurants, and that was why only when there were 7 candidates would there be a final choice. As for the true time everything was assembled, what about it? This owner should have a way out in actuality. The Heavenly Prosperity Establishment indeed is considered top quality in this city, and shopkeeper Li Shishir, 22, Also is a beautiful woman that is hard to come by. Even if you do not choose to go to the master recruitment, the heavenly prosperity establishment's name was poetic, the musical instruments handsomely danced, and the young women serving wine are top quality. Jiang Yundao's eyes narrowed as he spoke. He did not go there only just a few times. 23. Li Shishir? Su Xing looked pensively, glancing at the girls. This one beneath you shall go look at this heavenly prosperity establishment. The heavenly prosperity restaurant stood in great numbers, layer upon layer. The decor of engraved railings and painted pillars was gorgeous. Even if one was far away on the street, tilt one's head and the sounds of bustling activity could be heard. Su Xing and Wu Xinjie and the rest entered the restaurant, directly feeling a lively mood. The restaurant's interior was very large, with more than 100 tabled, and among them 2 copper lions were located in the center of 2 red ladders, grand and majestic. It gave the restaurant an additional peculiar atmosphere. When Su Xing entered, he received every sort of attentive gaze. Bringing 4 beautiful maidens would simply not be able to prevent people from thinking of them, seeing as Su Xing was very ordinary. These people did not mind, and Su Xing asked for a seat, chose a few dishes, not at all an impatient participating star cultivator, but someone who stayed at the side, first conducting a stakeout. He saw a man of a tough and stocky build currently use both hands to move the copper lion, a bare upper body, his veins exposed, his teeth grit tightly. A group of customers cheered and yelled, some encouraging, others sneering. Just a little bit more, then it passes 3 checkpoints and slays 6 generals. Bring out a man's spirit? Better give up. Even if you of the Mad Bear School, 24, rely on brute strength to move the copper lions, you can't pass the checkpoint. Don't invite this disgrace upon yourself. Exactly, I heard the current dynasty's 4 highnesses, 25, already been selected. Don't think of yourself as the toad that eats swan meat. The man roared loudly, raising both hands. He finally barely propped up the 1,000-gene copper lions, his brute force out of the ordinary. However, the established rule was to raise it above the head, supporting it for 10 seconds. This could be only accomplished with a cultivation of nebula stage at the minimum. The big man yelled loudly, and the copper lions fell to the ground, giving up dejectedly. The other customers laughed uproariously, one after another applauding. The owner that opened this restaurant truly can meticulously plan and carefully account, creating such a free show. No wonder business is so good. Shi Yuan twitched her lip. That sister of ours is also very smart. Wu Xinjie smiled. Does Sister Xinjie believe there truly is this matter of a heavenly star recruiting a master? And Su Wen asked, her expression suspicious. She felt a star general publicly recruiting a master was too bold. There should be. Star cultivators willing to contract with a star general do not have robust backgrounds, but have significant backgrounds. If strenuous effort and meticulous care are the final result, that is only a ridiculous buffoon, and I fear this heavenly prosperity establishment will be torn down. Wu Xinjie explained. The girls looked pensively. Putting it like this indeed was so. You all certainly must by all means not underestimate this public recruitment for a master. First of all, the copper lions restrict the star cultivator's cultivation. This guarantees that a chosen person's qualification are not too low. Secondly, the passes through 3 checkpoints. Slaying 6 generals is to make the star cultivator's train of thought gush. Does military force pin heaven and earth? Although it can be said this checkpoint can let chamberlains be substitutes. If chamberlains have peerless literary talent on hand, it indicates where the star cultivator is exceptional. So this public recruitment for a master is indeed from a talented little sister, truly talented. Could it be she does not fear attracting other sex? Su Xing asked. Ever since the demonic sect was extinguished, 26 large schools that seized the opportunity to force contracts became very few. In addition, Stone Tablet City is also on the frontier. There is no need to worry too much. Language passes 3 checkpoints, military slays 6 generals. Little sisters, certainly you know which sister has such a refined and elegant attitude of mind? Wu Xinjie asked. The group all shook their heads, setting up so complicated was rare. This young lady sees this simply is not a heavenly star, only some earthly star pretending to put up a sign, a scam. Shi Yuan sourly said. Her guess also had much reason. Heavenly stars were far more noticeable compared to earthly stars. Given any heavenly star, every large sect would all squabble for her. At that time, sects chose for themselves anyways. Setting things up to be this complicated, it was an earthly star style. The knowledge star smiled but did not speak. Young master, do you plan to try it out? Su Xing was just about to reply, when suddenly he heard the restaurant erupt with fanatical applause. Turning his head to look, he saw the 2 copper lions already high up floating in the air. The 1,000-gene copper lions were on that youth's left and right. The center of his hands released star energy, and the 2 lions were played around in his hands like balloons. His cultivation had reached nebula early stage. Master Qin's cultivation has greatly increased in half a year, truly a talented genius. Amazing! Everyone cheered all at once, their praising voices up here and down there. This Master Qin's reputation really was not small. The youth slightly smiled and firmly set the copper lions on the ground. He cupped his fist, and a maid led him to the 2nd floor. At this time, Su Xing knew he could not hesitate any longer. Rising, he walked to the copper lions, for beautiful lotuses elegantly following him. The 100 guests that were discussing the youth stopped their conversations, indefinitely bewildered as they stared at Su Xing, particularly at the 4 outstanding beauties Lining Mei and the rest, and their eyes straightened. The maid and that youth also turned their heads. Who is this hedonistic brat? Never seen him before? An unfamiliar face. Perhaps he is on a scenic tour? He looks that weak to stand up to the wind, yet he wants to go move the copper lions? Wah, those 4 beautiful girls. This brat truly has luck with women. Seeing his weak complexion, he must have weak kidneys from the lustful nights he has every night? Unexpectedly wanting to move the copper lion, that hedonistic brat is just overestimating his abilities. The majority of the customers inside the restaurant were from powerful and influential families, not only within Stone Table City, but they held a great reputation in even the entire Com prefecture. The complex influences of the nearby prefectures were fairly clear, yet this unfamiliar face of Su Xing's had never been seen before. Subconsciously, they felt he had rushed over from the Central Plains. The emperor high in heaven was far away, and the powerful dragon could not pressure the local bully. Also seeing Su Xing and his 4 beauties hold each other, jealous moods of every kind for a moment made everyone mock and ridicule Su Xing. Does this young master have any orders? The maid asked. Su Xing did not waste his breath speaking. His finger lightly forming a hook, star energy shot out. The 2 copper lions were played around in his hand completely without suspense, and launching it, the copper lions turned into flashes of light. They suddenly were reduced in size by several times, turning into a single decoration only several inches in size that fell into Su Xing's hand. It was an object shrinking art. The whole audience was absolutely silent, dumbstruck. Shrinking object arts were specially cultivated arts for star cultivators. This was not strange. However, what Su Xing used could be said to be wonderful to the heir of the summit. Ordinary star cultivator's object shrinking required long times to refine, and the resizing must guarantee that the object's quintessence was not lost, and something like the copper lions were even more magic energy demanding. It was hard to imagine the resizing would go smoothly without 2 or 3 days. Su Xing merely used a martial art in the blink of an eye, and the copper lions turned into a toy in his hand, which could be considered to have scared this group of powerful nobles. Su Xing threw the copper lion, and the lion grew back to its original size. The maid was astonished. May I pass through? Su Xing asked. Only star cultivators that have conducted a star duel qualify. Are you one? Qin Xiaoyu sneered. The blankly staring guests just slapped their thighs, having suddenly seen the light. Seeing Su Xing control his star energy so perfectly, this simply could not be done with 4 or 5 years of effort. 3. And Su Xing's cultivation was not shallow. At once, they believed that he already had trained for a very long time, and each and every one revealed, so it turned out to be this expression of contempt, at last comforting themselves. Of course I am. How do you test this? Su Xing flatly asked. You sure can talk big, careful you don't pull your tongue. Daring to proclaim yourself to be a star cultivator that went through a star duel, you've got thick skin, huh? Do you think you're a genius? Let's see how the heavenly star fixes him up. They continued to jeer at him. Lin Yingmei coldly swept her gaze over them, her eyes like lightning, a penetrating cold. The air temperature of the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment's fiery lounge immediately plummeted to 0, and it was the tall and sturdy man who was frozen to the point his teeth chattered, looking at Lin Yingmei filled with fright. This time, everyone was considered to have been silenced. Please, young master, quell your anger. This slave servant shall immediately go make a report. The maid promptly said. Su Xing hinted to Lin Yingmei, and the girl lowered her chilliness. Subsequently, everyone sitting before them at a table drank their wine, and everyone hid far away, looking at each other in dismay. Their eyes showed restrained fear of the consequences, thinking, could this youth be a star master from legend that came for a star duel? A moment later, upstairs, the fragrant muslin was separated, and colorful flowers danced in the breeze. Everyone's gaze had been attracted, and seeing a golden lotus phoenix hairstyle, colorful and bright beauty step down, her great beauty was full displayed. The people below sighed. This was Li Shishir? Su Xing was unconvinced. I, your servant, am Li Shishir, shopkeeper of the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment. I have heard there is a young master that can resize the copper lions at will? Li Shishir softly smiled. This one beneath you is Yun Yuzi. I heard there was a heavenly star recruiting a master, and I specially came for a try. Su Xing rose blandly. Li Shishir's smiling face was flowery, if indeed young master's bearing is not ordinary. Little Jia, 5 little E, 6, how do you feel about the young master? She smiled at the maids beside her. The 2 good-looking flowery maids were very attractive to the eye, wearing dark blue beautiful maid skirts, the white borders creased, golden armor, their heads stuck with corallas and dark red tassels. The particularly eye-catching maid had an exposed white back, carved with a gorgeous decorative design. They were extremely good-looking. The 2's appearances also were totally different. Wearing a dark blue maid skirt, with a pair of vermilion red eyes equivalent to contempt, the other was a white maid skirt girl blinking her eyes, very enthusiastically. Are you a star master? The enthusiastic girl asked. Passed 3 checkpoints and slayed 6 generals, that's it? Su Xing replied. The girl looked at Li Shishir, and Li Shishir muttered to herself for a short time, then nodded. Since young master is so confident, I, your servant, shall believe in the young master. Li Shishir smiled. She was just about to invite Su Xing upstairs. Suddenly she heard people shout. Owner, since it's the final candidate, it would be better to have a public showdown here, right? That's right. Also let us experience Master Qin's talent. Everyone clamored. Li Shishir asked, 2 young masters, what do you think? Do you dare accept? Young Master Qin sneered, somewhat indignant. As you wish. Su Xing was not opposed. Then good. I wish this time there will be a young master that can become the final general. The other 6 generals already are nearly blaming I, your servant. Li Shishir had a lovely and pitiful expression, causing everyone to swallow their saliva. The Heavenly Prosperity Establishment very quickly pulled open a battle array, issuing 2 tables. Li Shishir sat at an aromatic seat as the seat of honor, clutching a feather fan, overlooking them. Those rich and powerful nobles each and every one chuckled loudly. Qin Xiaoyu, you must start off leniently so as to avoid mistaking that Com Prefecture's genius took advantage of him. Passing through 3 checkpoints did not require a battle. What was tested was literary talent. A few arrogantly powerful star cultivators that often easily settled the copper lions were defeated under the checkpoint. Qin Xiaoyu was Stone Tablet's genius. Several months before, he could pass through 3 checkpoints, and the other people that passed through the checkpoints had literary talents not as exceptional as his. It was just that he could not hold up the copper lions continuously that he delayed for this long. This time, when he successfully raised the copper lions, everyone already thought the final position in the Heavenly Star recruiting a master was something he had in the bag. That made little E walked out, her eyes indifferent. The lounge resumed its quiet. The first checkpoint of language passes through 3 checkpoints was called taking apart the white orbit character. 7. Take a character, tear it into 2 characters and speak them out in a sentence. For example, so stuffy can be taken apart into, you have only ever been with your woman who has a child by her side. How do you know I'm searching for my heart in my door? 9. Su Xing was a complete layman at this. Fortunately, this checkpoint of literary talent allowed a chamberlain to take the role of answering. Thus, Wu Xinjie stepped forward. Asking worries? Little E spat out the first subject of the first checkpoint, taking apart the white orbit word. Hiding in the door as you open your mouth to speak is proof lacking. Clear under autumn is the heart's feeling. 11. Qin Xiaoyu blurted out the first thing he thought of. Good, incredible. Worthy of being called a genius, he doesn't even need to think. Everyone applauded. Wu Xinjie pursed her lips, concealing her disdain, her clear voice. Inside the door there is a mouth, yet it has difficulty speaking. In autumn, it is oversensitivity you are clearly seeing. 12. The knowledge star was also able and knowledgeable. She easily issued a response. 13. Everyone present went blank. Their favorite had just stepped up, and he once again was suppressed. The first checkpoint is merely an appetizer. The second checkpoint definitely will not be that simple. Qin Xiaoyu's voice sunk. The second checkpoint was word relay. 14. It was also a game that was most popular with scholars at the moment. The last word of a sentence had to be used as the first word of the following sentence. Heartbroken people write heartbroken words. Those without lovers write love poems. 16. Little E proceeded to say, you may choose one, the format must be identical. Qin Xiaoyu thought for a while, then spoke at length. Heartbroken people write heartbroken words. Words written about the heart's matters. Matters in the end cannot help itself pondering the past's sincere aspirations. Aspirations truly there were in love with who it seems I am that person. 17. Pretty good. This time, even Su Xing nodded. The kind of thing of a word relay sounded to be an excessive headache. His continuations actually were purely aesthetic. Young master, this star general actually is indeed odd. Arranging such a simple language passes 3 checkpoints. Wu Xinjie smiled at Su Xing, clearly saying without the slightest hesitation, those without lovers write love poems. Poems inside conceal emotional words. Words and irregular pearls penetrate thinking up until now. Now this night the hopeful monarch knows of recalling past events resembling the monarch's homecoming time. Good. Su Xing could not help but voice his praise. Sister Xinjie indeed has talent? And Suan exclaimed in admiration. Sounds very profound. The thief star tweaked her ears and scratched her cheeks. She felt there was nothing left for this knowledge star to do, making things this complicated. Lin Yingmei also showed an appreciative expression. Those nobles and ladies present each were dumbstruck. Little Yi's face was still expressionless. The third checkpoint, absolute for all eternity. 18. This time, you will say 10 antithetical couplets, following in response to this slave servant. Should you be able to outmatch this slave servant or utter a fine couplet, that will count as a pass. With regards to antithetical couplets, these customers that were present were far too familiar, nearly ad nauseum. The moment they opened their mouths, a small restaurant maid also did not pay attention. Qin Xiaoyu started as before. First of all was a strange couplet, scholars and peasants, do, re, mi, fa, sol. 19. The first couplet portion had 2 parts, the 4 classes of ancient China. 20, and do, re, mi, fa, sol. 21. The former 4 were professions, the latter 5 were sounds, and 1 word was repeated. 1 word was a homophone. 22. Everyone loudly cried, wonderful. Little E pondered slightly, then replied, cold warming and warm cooling, temperate, kind, courteous, restrained and magnanimous. 23. The former cold warming and warm cooling was the 4 apprehensions, and temperate, kind, courteous, restrained and magnanimous were the 5 kinds of morality of the Confucian gentleman. 24. Unexpectedly, she was not fussy. Qin Xiaoyu went blank, not expecting her to respond this quickly. He continued speaking. A water fairy grasps a jasper hairpin, slowly blowing out a sound in front of the wind. 25. Once again, it was a wonderful couplet, entirely following famous words. Expecting beauties to wear red embroidered shoes, at moonset come delicate steps. 26. Little E calmly replied. Qin Xiaoyu's expression changed, flaunting hair draped over the shoulders and holding a mighty sword, where is the immortal Buddha's ear? 27. Having a method to vanquish dragons and tigers, turtles and snakes in the clouds. 28. The following few couplets were also ingenious, mysterious, but that little E truly was formidable, easily responding. After 10 sets, Qin Xiaoyu himself was rendered stupid. He unexpectedly had difficulties defeating a maid. Everyone once again all assembled their gazes on Wu Xinjie. Wu Xinjie had a fair standard on creating responses. She racked her brains recalling couplets she had seen before in an ancient book, then said, 2 boats side by side, the scull is not as fast as the sail. The scull's speed hinted at Lu Su, the sail's swiftness at Fan Kuai. These 2 both were outstanding and famous generals several dynasties ago. The person's name and the object's name were overlapping homophones, which could be said to be clever. The whole audience cried, good. The maid's tone was very indifferent. The 8 instruments all together play music. The clear flute, low and young official, is hard to compare to pan pipes, Xiao He. Young master, sisters, let's see yours? Wu Xinjie helplessly surrendered. Lin Yingmei said one. Like dreams, like fantasy. Like bubbles, like shadows. Like revealed, like lightning. Do not increase and do not decrease. Do not birth and do not die. Do not dirty and do not clean. And Suwen thought for a moment, then also said, inside the fortunate morning, for the time being go easy. 2. The maid was apathetic. This important couplet did not baffle her. How can one help this matter? You must wait to return. 3. The efficacious star was also defeated in a flash. The thief star Shi Yuan was no longer confident, but she remembered a couplet she once saw inside a tomb. She opened her mouth and shouted, 1 mind and 2 tasks and 3 obediences and 4 virtues, 5 winters and 6 summers, 6 and 7 up and 8 down, 7, 9 descendants and 10 ancestors, 8, 100 households and 1,000 fingers, 9, 10,000 deaths will not stop me. 10. This couplet completely was formed following numerical idioms. From 1 to 10,000, this talked about a loitering married woman scared on the edge every moment of her life until finally she was utterly isolated and had been hounded to death. This could be considered an amazing couplet. Whatever material little E thought about for a bit, she unexpectedly actually made a response. 11. The shopkeeper is indeed outstanding. For a maid in her employ to be this incredible. Everyone admired her. Any more? Little E asked, seemingly very interested. Wu Xinjie gazed at her sisters, already out of ammunition and no food left. Little E nodded. Just as she was about to return to Li Shishir's side, suddenly, she heard a voice speak. This one beneath you has an absolute for all eternity. I wonder if you can respond. Su Xing's eyes lit up, lightly smiling as he spoke. Absolute for all eternity? You can come up with an absolute for all eternity? Big talk? What a joke. She let a maid go respond to couplets. Unexpectedly, he thinks he can come up with an absolute for all eternity. The hedonistic brat surely is a hedonistic brat. How arrogant. Everyone present made a racket. All those present were from literary families, conceited with great talent. Suddenly hearing the silent Su Xing say these grand words of absolute for all eternity after hearing the maid throw out every kind of high-difficulty couplets, at once, those that felt they had been insulted loudly jeered. Please speak. Little E showed a bit of interest. Young master? Wu Xinjie was slightly worried. Su Xing laughed, unconcerned. In terms of literary talent, he certainly could not be compared to the learned guests present, but saying an absolute for all eternity, Su Xing actually thought of such a thing. When he was on Earth in the past, there was such an absolute through eternity that up until now, no one had perfectly replied to. Thus, he did not believe the maid before him could reply. The couplet that could make Su Xing this self-confident was exactly, "Willow pond locked in smoke." 12. Uttering this couplet, a few novice literati jeered. It sounds very simple. Merely this. However, they immediately discovered the entire heavenly prosperity establishment had fell into a sort of frightening, deathly silence. Somewhat erudite scholars revealed shocked expressions. After seeing that Qin Xiaoyu thinking a bit, they looked at Su Xing, dumbstruck. Even little E was shaken. Willow pond locked in smoke, is it very difficult? Shi Yuan saw their shocked expressions as funny. Wu Xinjie thought this over a second time and immediately smiled. This couplet of young master truly is absolute for all eternity. How? The knowledge star the explained. Willow pond locked in smoke appeared to be very simple, but it was actually very profound. The 5 words were formed from the 5 radicals of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. 13. In addition, these 5 words formed from the radicals had an extremely artistic mood. How could this kind of couplet be easily responded to? Shi Yuan and the rest pondered briefly, then they also jumped in shock. To respond to this kind of excellently artistic couplet indeed was not too possible. Big brother, so amazing! And Su Wen covered her mouth, exclaiming in admiration. He always was this kind of surprising person. Shi Yuan very quickly recovered, saying so proudly. The maid little E pondered, wrinkling her brow deeply as she reflected for a long while. That pair of apathetic red eyes gazed at Su Xing, filled with bewilderment and were at a loss. Su Xing calmly drank his tea amidst this chaos, not caring for their shock. Who was he kidding? He actually hoped for someone to respond to this kind of genuine absolute for all eternity in order to let him broaden his horizons. Your distinguished self, the sage presents as an ordinary person. Xiaoyu does admire. Qin Xiaoyu cupped his fists, prostrating himself in admiration as he had nothing to say. Pondering for a long time, little E gave up. It seems the results are very clear. Li Shirshir resumed her clam, a smile across her whole face. To be able to play with 1,000-gene copper lion in his hand, and to be able to utter an absolute for all eternity, all the guests present felt ashamed of their inferiority. Not a word was said. A token at this time flew into Su Xing's hand. After 7 days, we invite young master to again come to the Heavenly Excitement Building for a gathering. Prepare for the military slays 6 generals. Li Shirshir said. With singing and dancing, the restaurant was a field of jubilation. Su Xing did not stay at the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment for too long. Since he already obtained the qualifications, he very quickly took his leave. Sitting on the carriage, Shi Yuan still continuously uttered that absolute for all eternity of Su Xing's, willow pond locked in smoke. Although the thief star did not have interest in prose and verse sorts of things, seeing the man she liked boldly show himself, her heart still was contented. Su Xing, just how did you think of that? Truly too mysterious. Shi Yuan said, worshipping him. Su Xing naturally could not say he saw it on the internet. Instead, a divine light had flashed. Did Big Brother's Su Xing figure out a response? And Su Wen's question aroused their curiosity. The difficulty in responding lies in the artistry. Wu Xinjie said. Su Xing also felt this way. However, Xinjie actually thought of one. Really? The girls were startled. Let's hear you say it. Su Xing was engrossed. Wu Xinjie smiled. For willow pond locked in smoke, Xinjie responds, clogged town building burned in fog. 16. The carts inside was silent for ages. Su Xing clapped, giving her a big thumbs up, endlessly admiring her. Xinjie, worthy of being called the knowledge star. This absolute for all eternity unexpectedly really was responded to. Fog became rain, and rain became water, that was considered clever. A burning fog not inferior to locking smoke, it was as if the scenery was before them. A clogged town building made their eyes promptly see a crowded checkpoint tower. Smoke filled the sky as if it was burning on the tower, the burning fog like a blazing flame of war, indicating the pertinent building's bitterness and desolation. Only in terms of artistry, if Willow Pond locked in smoke was like the grace of a humble family's pretty daughter in the sunny south, then clogged town building burning in fog was a blood-soaked and valiant hero. Pretty good. Sure, Yuan was dizzy. Apparently, the most talented and learned is still elder sister Knowledge Star. Wu Xinjie, how did you think of that? Lin Yingmei asked. How would Xinjie have any literary talent? Xinjie merely previously wandered Liangshan and happened to once go to the forever bloody Sand Pass. 17, and seeing this place's fort, Xinjie then thought of it. Wu Xinjie smiled. Everyone clearly understood. The forever bloody fort was one of the Great Liang's extremely bitter mountain passes. Located in the Vermilion Bird territory bordering the 10,000 Devils Mountain, that place waged wars year-round. An inch of flesh covered the earth, and the earth became bloody. Every early morning, the fog was a blood red, just like a blazing inferno. This time's language passes 3 checkpoints made each of the girls experience the astonishing words of Su Xing and the different Knowledge Star. This heavenly star's master recruitment truly is peculiar, Su Xing said. And we don't know if this is real or not. He had some doubts. The outcome will be seen after 7 days. Xinjie thinks that this heavenly star is very extraordinary. Wu Xinjie smiled mysteriously, seemingly guessing about 70 or 80%. However, me tricking her like this isn't too suitable, right? Su Xing wrinkled his brow. The Knowledge Star smiled, unconcerned. No need to worry. Since it is a public recruitment for a master, then we can assume so. There is no tricking or not of any sort. Can young master truly sign a 5th sister? An Suwen and Shi Yuan gazed at each other, feeling this matter was too mysterious. Yingmei, what do you say? Wu Xinji very considerately inquired Lin Yingmei's opinion. Put it anyway, the majestic star Lin Chong was the first to sign a contract with Su Xing, and she was also considered the first and legal wife. 18th Lin Yingmei shook her head. If it was before, she used to even have some conflicts with Su Xing nowadays, she already no longer thought this way. She was even brimming with anticipation. Li Shishir returned to the red winding apricot. 19, and let out a breath of air. 7 candidates finally were all collected. With things like this, she could be considered to have completed the mission that Heavenly Star assigned to her. Little E, could you make out that Yun Yuzi's background? Seeing those 4 young beauties at his side, it seems to be not simple. Could he be a star master? Li Shishir asked the maid beside her, her countenance somewhat anxious. Little Yi's red pupils flickered rays of light, emotionless, not replying. Stone Tablet City Public Square, under the devil suppressing steel, a youth raised his head to look at the script on the stone tablet. His face was white as jade, elegant and graceful. His cultivation seemed to only be at Nebula late stage, but in a fluid glance, an expression that looked down upon everything was released. The Jiang Yundao who stood guard at the devil-suppressing steel was respectfully nearby, completely without that overbearing attitude he had initially when he warned Su Xing. There were an additional 6 masters clutching long swords. Metallic crossbow military generals stood on each side, each of their presences reserved, the middle of their foreheads full. In a moment, nobody dared approach within a few meters of the devil-suppressing steel. Father Emperor truly is skilled. I of the palace, do not know just when I will have the bearing of these words. The youth opened his mouth, his tone insulting and arrogant. He was precisely the current Great Liang dynasty's 4th prince, His Highness Zhao Cheng. 20. Your Majesty, to reach Nebula late stage without contracting a star general, this class of talent, any of the star cultivators in the Great Liang are far inferior, Jiang Yundao said. I, of the palace, practice demonic arts, that's all. Zhao Cheng deeply sighed, gently stroking the characters on the stone tablet, with endless pity. Sister and brother both have heavenly stars serving them. Thai of the palace did not take an alternate route, then there was no catching up. 4th Highness, could it be no star general wants to sign a contract with your Majesty? Jiang Yundao was surprised. I of the palace only want a heavenly star. Those earthly stars, I of the palace, certainly do not have interest for. Zhao Cheng haughtily said. Then the heavenly prosperity establishment's heavenly star, of the palace, already assigned people to go investigate. If there is a heavenly star, then good. If not, just take that Li Shirshir to join a brothel. Zhao Cheng coldly smiled. At this time, a spy returned with news that the heavenly prosperity establishment contracted the final candidate. Zhao Cheng suddenly exposed a trace of zealotry. When he heard of Su Xing's method to superbly control the copper lion, Jiang Yundao could not help but tremble in fear. This star cultivator indeed was seriously brilliant. However, what Zhao Cheng actually cared about was another matter. Willow Pond locked in smoke. Truly an absolute for all eternity. Fourth Highness, your humble servant has seen that person before. Nebula late stage, for beautiful girls, his background is not small. Who cares who he is? No one can stop of the palace from contracting a heavenly star. Zhao Cheng's expression was ruthless. The devil-suppressing stone table was suddenly surrounded by a black light, shook briefly, and terrified Jiang Yundao. Fortunately, after Zhao Cheng calmed down, the devil-suppressing steel also fell back to tranquility. Gazing at the fourth prince before his eyes, Jiang Yundao abruptly felt the surroundings briefly turn cold. His heart ineffably had a trace of fear. It was unknown how the slay's 6 generals was arranged. There still was 7 days' time, and taking advantage of these days, Su Xing began to search for a paradise to train his spirit vessel so as to avoid wasting the purple star-grade Liangshan outlaw jade pendant. Wandering around the cloud cover for half a day, searching through several towns, Su Xing did not find any place that could be used for training. This could not be helped. Liangshan had several thousands of years, and the Azure Dragon territory was like a girl on her wedding night, having already been felt up everywhere, up to the majestic forbidden areas and down to the remotest escapes. If spirit vessels did not follow a sect, then they followed the control of a powerful family. Scattered star cultivators wanted to find an immortal's abode of their own to train in were dreaming. In actuality, Su Xing could find a few places where the spiritual influences were vigorous, but it was just that he would greatly squander the purple star-grade jade pendant this way. It seems young master can only chisel a way through the wall, Wu Xinji said. What she referred to was to lower his head and enter those sects to use those treasured grounds. He could choose to join and secretly open the immortal's abode. The average sect was extremely large, anyways, and the disciples under a sect that wanted an immortal's abode were countless. As long as he was careful, it would be hard to be discovered. Su Xing nodded. He could only do this. However, the time to go chisel a way through the wall currently was too late. Su Xing thought about it, and still decided to first return to the inn. At the Stone Tablet Inn, he requested a single room. 2. Wu Xinjie knew intuitively to lay down in the surroundings of the room, Heaven's Qi Great Array. 3. This magic circle's greatest use was that it could make spiritual power and star energy seemingly not flow, so as to avoid detection by outsiders. Using it to refine artifacts and such, this was a magic circle star cultivators were required to learn. Su Xing then aroused his divine intent, and a sword and shield flew out. These 2 ancient lost treasures obtained from the crying infant's body were dark and colorless. When they appeared, they let out an owl's weeping cry, and the girls all could not help but furrow their brow. 7 days already were spent refining this, and this heaven sword and earth shield were still violent as before. This ancient lost treasure really is mysterious, Shi Yuan said. Should young master be able to refine these ancient lost treasures into nebula magic weapons, then they would be very useful. Wu Xinjie slightly smiled. In regards to star cultivators, magic weapons were devices to divide the work of complex and easy tasks. From Stardust stage to Galaxy stage, star cultivators used artifacts. Galaxy stage and above used magic weapons. Not only did magic weapons have far greater spiritual power than magic artifacts, in all aspects, they were stronger by several levels. On average, magic weapons required the star energy of a supercluster cultivator, whose was vast as the ocean, in order to be refined, so magic weapons could only be used at supercluster or galaxy late stage at the very least. However, there were times that nebula cultivators used magic weapons for battle. In addition, this type of magic weapon was refined from an ancient lost treasure. However, to refine an ancient lost treasure into a low-grade magic weapon was simply hated by men and gods alike in the eyes of others. After the magic circle was placed, Su Xing controlled the heaven and earth sword and shield to float in the air. Then he wiped some essence blood on the sword and the shield, and he urged his star energy to begin refining the remnants of the crying infant's breath on the ancient lost treasure. The ancient breath and Su Xing's divine intent, blood and qi mixed together, and a formless battle unfolded in his mind. Refining two ancient losts at the same time very much put to the test a star cultivator's willpower and control, but it enormously promoted a star cultivator's ability to control star energy. It was precisely thanks to refining these two lost treasures that Su Xing could effortlessly play with the two copper lions at will in his hands. At the same time Su Xing earnestly refined the ancient lost treasure, the other girls were not idle. Lin Yingmei was responsible for taking up guard duty. Wu Xinjie brought out several dozen maps and more than 10 ancient annals, the jade strip and scrolls, flipping through the pages on one hand while she took notes, planning for future matters. Shi Yuan, as usual, studies the MO attack mechanism arts and upgraded the final Copperman puppet using the 6th rank one-eyed dragon soul, and she asked Wu Xinjie for assistance when she reached difficult portions. The knowledge star quickly provided her wisdom, and Shi Yuan's puppet mechanism operation made speedy progress. And Suan also was not unoccupied. Besides using the evil-suppressing gem bamboo to breed the essence-swallowing dragons, the efficacious star currently mulled over a bold plan to manufacture a pill talisman that transformed a pill to have a talisman's use. Inside the void Liangshan, acting as the divine physician, Suan mostly was on the sidelines worrying helplessly. Since she could not formulate a flawless trap-and-kill plan like the resourceful star, nor did she have any way to charge and break through enemy lines like the majestic star, it was the flea on a drum's random appearing and disappearing that could bring about surprising results. And Suan did not want to stand on the side looking and worrying helplessly. Regarding the efficacious stars helping the dying and healing the injured, that was her personal strength. There were myriad changes in an instant inside a fight, but that would not give her this chance. Vital Qi, Essence Qi, Magic Energy, Star Energy and so on all were crucial. If she could create a few talisman-like, fast-acting pills, in a battle, it could manifest unexpected turning points. However, that the entire Azure Dragon territory had never heard before of a pill talisman was not a small challenge. 1 man and 4 women regularly and thoroughly had their hands occupied with work. They were very clear that without the support of a strong great sect, future star duels would only be even harder. Everything could only be based on their own great effort. And just like that, in the blink of an eye, they had arrived at the appointed final day. The heaven and earth sword and shield hovered in the air. They saw the dim appearance had already regained its silvery light, the pure rays binding 90% of it. Su Xing continuously struck seals, and his star energy fiercely shot over. The crying infant's breath was under continuous bombardment before it finally dispersed. The heaven and earth sword and shield shone with a dazzling brilliance, its entire body again resuming its dim appearance. Compared to artifacts, the heaven and earth sword and shield's power was reserved. A star energy dense as clouds shrouded the sword and shield, just like a nebula-grade magic weapon. It had a greater spiritual nature than it did previously, and Su Xing's divine intent lacked much of the 6th-rank demon beast's powerful presence. Although it was weakened by more than half, Su Xing still was quite satisfied. Swallowing several spirit liquids that restored magic energy, Suan fully used a spiritual aura distribution to make Su Xing's vital qi restored to perfect condition. Now we'll go see just what background this heavenly star has. Su Xing smiled. Putting away the magic circle, the group walked out the door. The 4 beautiful ladies meticulously suppressed their star maiden auras. Regarding how they concealed their identities and disguised themselves, this was nothing out of the ordinary for Wu Xinjie, and Suan and Shi Yuan. On the contrary, Lin Yingmei had the innate pantherhead's pride and was incapable of concealment. Her forehead's heroic spirit pressing, her eyes carrying a profound icy arrogance. She was like a guard that did not reveal deep secrets, which more and more manifested Su Xing's hedonistic and spoiled son style. Exiting the inn's door, just as they were about to arrive at the public square, from far away, they saw an old Taoist walk over to Su Xing. "Fellow Yun Yuzi, we meet yet again." Jiang Yundao good-naturedly smiled and said, "Senior Jiang, still guarding this devil-suppressing steel? That is indeed exhausting." Su Xing likewise smiled. "Not tough. For the common people seeking good fortune, this is the responsibility of we star cultivators. The star duels are what is exhausting, how bitter." The old man laughed aloud. The girls' pupils rolled, glancing at each other. Su Xing smiled and knew he had something to say. "Does fellow Yun feel this way or not? The star duels of those star masters and star generals is you die, I live. How is that as free and at leisure as we and happy? Just like fellow Yun brings for beauties on an outing, it indeed makes people envious, ha." Su Xing lightly smiled. "I hear the victor can obtain a wish. To even be able to go to the legendary Liangshan Maiden, this enticement is not small. Could it be that fellow Yun has also been enticed?" Jiang Yundao was intrigued. "Senior, if you have something to say, just say it directly." Su Xing got right to the point, truly not interested in what he was hiding. "Good." Jiang Yundao stroked his long beard, saying, "I hear fellow already obtained the final place in the Heavenly Star recruiting a master?" "Correct. Fellow Yun was outstanding and out of the ordinary the first time we met. This old Taoist's insight did not see wrongly. But as your elder, this old Taoist wishes to give fellow a piece of advice. Speak." Su Xing spat out a simple word. Jiang Yundao wrinkled his brow, feeling Su Xing was a bit arrogant and bossy, seemingly as if himself had turned into an underling. Fellows women to the side, wandering Liangshan, not at all happy. There is no need to participate in the star duels. This old Taoist knows this time's Heavenly Star's master recruitment. The great Liang's fourth prince is in it, and regarding this Heavenly Star, His Majesty aspires to have her. The apparently scared Su Xing did not know the meaning of the ambition of the great Liang's fourth prince to have her. He emphasized his tone. Emperor Liang has the 5 princes and princesses participate in the star duels to obtain imperial power. All the princesses and princes each were provided 100 million liang of gold. This wealth cannot be matched by anyone. Previous large sects fell over each other in their eagerness to express goodwill, and supreme grade sects gave away their secret arts. This power cannot be reached by anyone. In addition, the great Liang dynasty acts as the Azure Dragon territory's flourishing dynasty. This authority cannot be spoken by any words. Jiang Yundao was also astute and circumspect. His mouth burst open with flowers, a wealth, power, and authority all bluntly pointed out who was the genuine lead in this star duel. His words actually were not incorrect in the slightest, but there was one point that he actually was incorrect about. To have authority, wealth, and power did not signify one would be the final victor. Senior wishes to inform this one beneath you this star duel is not fair? Su Xing's harmless smile made Jiang Yundao's eyelids jump. That is still all right. I have never believed in fairness. This world has never been fair. So you will not think this over for your beautiful women? Jiang Yundao tone sunk, already aggravated. Darlings, what do you all say? Su Xing frivolously asked. Your servant willingly pledges her life to follow young master. Lin Yingmei replied without the slightest hesitation. She icily glared at Jiang Yundao. A galaxy cultivator, the majestic star actually would not place him in her eyes. Jiang Yundao stared blankly, only feeling Lin Yingmei's imposing manner was vast. An icy and cold intent stabbed into his bones, and Jiang Yundao hastily urged on his star energy, blocking the counterattack of Lin Yingmei's cold intent. Gazing at Su Xing, he was actually full of surprise. It seems this old Taoist made an error in judgment. Perhaps fellow also is not an ordinary person. Jiang Yundao eased his tone, only taking Su Xing's arrogance to mean there certainly was some large sect or family supporting him from behind. Although the great Liang's princes and princesses had wealth, power, and authority, Compared to a few old star cultivator clans and sects, they were still vulnerable. That fourth prince made senior pass on these words? Su Xing said. Then let this one beneath you trouble you to pass on a message to him. A general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers. 5. Fair is good, unfair is also good. The ultimate king steps wearily on the bones of the dead, and it is not relying on a few deterrent words that wishes are granted. Lin Yingmei and the other girls looked at Su Xing in awe. They did not expect the ordinarily gentle and kind Su Xing to be able to say the type of terrifying awakening, a general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers, was. Jiang Yundao stared blankly, loudly shouting, good? What a good, a general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers. This old Taoist certainly will report this phrase to His Highness as it is. Then, this old Taoist wishes fellow to indeed not be careless and turn into a flight of white bones underneath the feet of another. Jiang Yundao was also influenced, not saying much. Turning around, he then left, and the several dozen guards hidden in the surroundings also quietly departed. A general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers? Zhao Cheng heard Jiang Yundao's report. He showed disdain. This king not wanting to raise even more of an issue does not mean this king fears him. Unexpectedly daring to say a general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers to this king. Does he wish to rebel? I hear the object shrinking art that person used was a stove fire that turned bright green, so I fear he is not simple. The womenfolk beside him also are deep and immeasurable. Jiang Yundao cautiously said. Zhao Cheng smiled. What deep and immeasurable could those women have? They could not all be star generals. Upon this king's first star duel victory, this king shall use him as a blood sacrifice. Zhao Cheng was not someone who looked impressive but was worthless. He pondered, but to guard against the unexpected, he nevertheless needed to be careful. He instructed Jiang Yundao, we will personally arrange the location of this military slay's 6 generals. Just say that it will be changed to be convened under this devil-suppressing steel. You must quickly arrange for this. Jiang Yundao's expression slowly changed, puzzled. Your Highness, why must it be arranged to be under the devil-suppressing steel? Could it be head guard Jiang does not feel witnessing this king's glory under the devil-suppressing steel Father Emperor erected is an event that would be a satisfaction to everyone? Zhao Cheng laughed aloud. Jiang Yundao said no more. In accordance with the token's instruction, Su Xing rushed to the Heavenly Prosperity Establishment's red winding apricot. Seeing Li Shirshir, she was the same as before. Li Shirshir's graceful charm displayed her beauty, and the two maids with the completely contrasting appearances, little Jia with her long hair trailing over her shoulders and her evenly trimmed bangs as well as the refined, short-haired little Yi waited on either side. Other than this, the red winding apricot had the other 6 young men and women. Each was dressed in brocades and silk, their appearance out of the common run. It was just that Su Xing noticed that 5 among them had absent-minded appearances, their eyes somewhat unhappy and preoccupied, as if they were not taking the military slay's 6 generals seriously. Su Xing inwardly smiled, understanding what was happening. Fellow Yun, you have arrived. Li Shirshir greeted him. Little Jia stepped forward to serve wine and a snack. The other star cultivators were endlessly bewildered as they looked at Su Xing. They saw his cultivation unexpectedly had reached nebula late stage, and they were inwardly fearful. The so-called Star Master was a title born after the star duels began and was together with a star maiden. Currently, no more than 3 years had passed, and a cultivation had unexpectedly reached nebula late stage. This speed showed the resources of heaven were outstanding, and it seemed certain that he was a star master nurtured by some sect. Only through this way could his cultivation be so rapid. The 5 preoccupied star cultivators nodded their heads in a friendly manner at Su Xing. Only one man like cold iron showed disapproval. His cultivation had reached nebula middle stage, so he did not need to be like the others. Another moment passed, and a sound came from outside the door. They saw a red-lipped, white-toothed youth putting on airs walk in. He wore an imperial brocade and had an impressive appearance. He was precisely the great Liang's fourth prince, Zhao Cheng. His cultivation surprisingly reached nebula late stage. Su Xing raised his brow. He watched this Zhao Cheng's steady footsteps, how his eyes dispersed in evil ruthlessness when he walked in. The air in the room seemingly froze solid. Li Shirshir, you have finally found the final star cultivator? This king was almost impatient. Could it be that Heavenly Star is unaware this was very wasteful of time? Wanting to win the star duels, this master recruitment simply is a very laughable waste of time. Zhao Cheng made unrestrained reprimands the moment he walked into the room. Li Shirshir's face wore a slight smile, not taking offense. The Star General herself has her own thinking. I, your servant, am merely an intermediary, nothing more. This king wishes that Star General not make this king disappointed. Zhao Cheng oddly chuckled. Since everyone is present, I, your servant, will announce the final rules of the military slay's 6 generals. The rules of military slay's 6 generals actually were straightforward and direct, which was extraordinarily outside of their expectations, and they were not that complex as language passes 3 checkpoints. It was only on a specific ring, and the 7 chosen would fight in a chaotic melee. As long as only 1 star cultivator was left in the end, then the Star General would sign a star duel covenant with them. This was Slay's 6 generals. Seemingly simple, but it made the 7 star cultivators finally rise above others in a brawl. This Star General's plan was very astute. Not a single one of them had an objection. Zhao Cheng said, "This king has a suggestion. What does your highness wish to say?" Since the time period of this master recruitment was half a year long, place the final Slay's 6 generals arena at the devil-suppressing steel. On one hand it will permit the people to witness a heavenly star's methods, so as to avoid having people think Li Shirshir is a swindler. Secondly, because it is at the devil-suppressing steel, there would be no need to fear other people using treacherous tricks. How do you feel? Su Xing wrinkled his brow. He felt this Zhao Cheng secretly had some plan, but what he said had sentiment and reason, making it difficult to reject for the time being. Li Shirshir looked around, then nodded her head in agreement. Several meters outside the devil-suppressing steels, a 4 to 5 meter wide, more than a dozen zhang tall arena had already been built. Mahogany was used as beams, and embroidered banners floated in exhibition. The entire surroundings had soldiers grasping sharp blades standing guard. Jiang Yundao and Li Shirshir sat under the devil-sealing steel. As galaxy middle stage cultivators, he could be counted as the sole great one in Stone Table City, and they assumed the role as witnesses to this master recruitment. In a restaurant not far from the public square, Wu Xinjie and the girls sat on seats near the window as they distantly watched the arena, their lips tasting tea, their expressions relaxed. This was the Heavenly Star's master recruitment's final military slay's 6 generals. Each of the girls felt completely reassured about Su Xing, especially when they glanced at the 6 star cultivators on the courtyard. Besides the great Liang's 4th prince Zhao Cheng that could compare to Su Xing, the other 5 would collapse at the first blow. Wu Xinjie was already looking forward to the things that would happen after he signed with the Heavenly Star. This sister of ours certainly has been troublesome, creating something this complex to find a contractor. Shi Yuan propped up her chin, muttering to herself. Sister Xinjie, which sister is she and is she here? And Suwen asked curiously. She should be hidden somewhere taking note of this battle. Wu Xinjie replied. Because she feared exposing her identity, Wu Xinj did not use think then act. Naturally, she could not know who in the several thousands surrounding the courtyard was the Star General. However, there was a person that made Wu Xinjie pay careful attention to. The knowledge star stared at someone beside Li Shirshir, at a maid with an apathetic face whose eyes held a glimmer. The 7 chosen very quickly stepped onto the stage, each spreading out. Li Shirshir glanced at the maid little E. The cold and detached girl picked up a cup and smashed it to bits where she stood, officially declaring the start of military slay's 6 generals. Many of the populace and star cultivators thought they would immediately see an incomparably intense battle since the dawn of time to now. Who would have thought that for a long time after the cup was shattered, the 7 star cultivators all did not move, did not act. Wu Xinjie scoffed with the 7-person melee could only have one victor, and perhaps they did not dare rashly act out. Su Xing shook his head, indifferently sweeping his eyes over everyone present. Those who wish to give up, just quickly give up, don't waste time. Being vain and trying to snatch up whatever convenience there may be, those lack the qualifications to be favored by the heavenly star. The plaza clamored, saying this youth was very arrogant. The battle had not started, yet he wanted others to retreat. Big brother Su Xing indeed is truly daring. Does he not fear being surrounded and attacked? And Su Wen blinked. Peace? Wu Xinjie smiled. Young master already saw through the surface of this battle. Surface? As expected, the previous 5 inattentive star cultivators looked at each other in dismay. They were all Nebula early stage, so naturally they knew they did not have a bit of a chance. Yet they were not resigned. Zhao Qing gave the 5 a look. The 5 cultivators all together stepped forward, and among them a female cultivator sneered. Fellow truly is arrogant, wanting to let us retreat. It would be better to have you retreat first. The 5 cultivators loudly shouted, simultaneously attacking. Swords swept out. Every kind of artifact flew toward Su Xing with a whoosh, bright and multicolored, the luster moving brilliantly. Su Xing's 5 fingers fought, and wooden sword appeared in his hand, confronting the approaching attacking artifacts. His figure rapidly flew backwards, his star energy imbued onto the sword. The ordinary and mediocre red would immediately ignited into thunder and fire, lightning flashing and dancing. It's the heavenly lightning earthly fire sword. Someone loudly shouted. Su Xing subsequently waved the firebolt sword in accordance with the massive star energy inside his body. The firebolt sword's lightning fire blazed with an extremely rampant power. The blaze bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws soared up. With a wave down, a huge clap of thunder directly split open the air. When this attack fell downwards, every artifact was shot down without the least bit of resistance. Star cultivators that dared to participate in the star duels naturally had some assets and haughtiness. Su Xing's first attack with heavenly lightning earthly fire did not scare them, and the 5 immediately once again adjusted to uniformity, throwing whatever was in their bags with practice. SFX. Shwa shwa shwa. 500 talismans flew out, and there was just like a great snowstorm in the air above the arena. When those people saw this spectacular scene, for a time, they could not move as if they were choked. The 500 talismans seemed vicious as far as a star cultivator with Su Xing's cultivation was concerned. Su Xing struck a hand seal, and the firebolt sword slashed downwards through the air. Sword light emitted, and it transformed into 5 rolling waves of fire lightning, rolling towards the sky. The blaze and lightning overflowed the heavens, and in a split second, the 500 talismans were burned clean away. 10,000 liang of gold became scattered ashes and dispersed smoke in the blink of an eye. The expressions of the 5-star cultivators changed. They were again about to call out every sort of method, but Su Xing would not give them a chance. Rushing forward, his body was like a fiery shadow, all of a sudden enveloping the 5-star cultivators within. Those star cultivators did not expect Su Xing's speed was surprisingly this quick. They were even too late to put up a defensive opportunity. Su Xing grabbed one of the opponents, his palms secretly holding a blooming water divine thunder. The counterpart screamed, then lost consciousness on the spot. 2 other star cultivators seized the chance to put out shields and barriers to defend, but Su Xing's firebolt sword easily rushed. In such a close range as this, it cleaved apart the defenses as easily as blowing dust, and a fire snake swallowing the heavens also set the star cultivators down. Within the blink of an eye, 3 comrades lost the ability to resist. The remaining man and woman's faces were extremely unsightly. Seeing Su Xing unexpectedly fought this easily, the male cultivator bellowed, bringing out a large sword and cutting at Su Xing. Because of the fighting ability of the seal he inherited from the majestic star, the male cultivator before him playing like this was digging his own grave. Su Xing flung his hand and staggered the man's large sword. With a slap on his back, the wooden sword simultaneously beat the nape of the counterpart's neck. He screamed, and the male cultivator fell over. Chopping gold talisman. Though. The female cultivator finally seized a chance, chanting. A middle-grade talisman became a golden sword light that exactly hit Su Xing's stomach, and they heard the clanging of golden armor. The female cultivator was delighted, and she was just about to prepare a second attack when she suddenly saw Su Xing not the slightest bit wounded appear in front of her. Impossible! The female cultivator had not figured out why her middle-grade talisman surprisingly did not have the slightest effect on Su Xing when he raised and lowered his sword, and the female cultivator lost her consciousness. While the narration was long, in actuality, these movements were fast as lightning by the time Su Xing put away the firebolt sword. The entire plaza was already absolutely silent. So incredible! Jiang Yundao's heart shivered. 5 nebula stage cultivators unexpectedly had been dispatched within a breath. His attack strategy flowed smoothly, like moving clouds and flowing water, and those 5-star cultivators in any case could be considered to have assets. Jiang Yundao knew one of them possessed a high-grade talisman, but even that was not used quickly enough, thus leading to complete defeat. This man was too unwavering. Jiang Yundao believed he himself could not handle 5-star cultivators as relaxed as that man had. He looked at Zhao Cheng, and while the great Liang's 4th Highness did not bat an eyelid, his eyes nevertheless very clearly revealed a trace of astonishment. The arena very quickly was left with Su Xing and Zhao Cheng. Very good. Defeating this kind of star cultivator such as yourself certainly will make Father Emperor sit up and take notice. Zhao Cheng sneered, already continuously placing defenses around his whole body, a shallow black color glimpsing nearby. Su Xing raised and cut with the firebolt sword. The flames knocked against Zhao Cheng's defenses and shook open a ripple but did not bring about a significant result. Zhao Cheng immediately regained confidence, brought out a box of inkstone and threw it at Su Xing while chanting an incantation. That ink slab suddenly swelled several sizes, the deep and distinct engraved lines clearly visible, and a black and evil smoke sprayed out under Zhao Cheng's control. The black smoke had myriad changes, spreading all around Su Xing and acted as a shroud. Black evil inkstone. Jiang Yundao slightly smiled. Prince Zhao Cheng deserved to be called a star master nurtured by the great Liang. The moment he acted, it was a supreme-grade nebula artifact. Some black smoke concentrated like black ink, an encroaching qi that engulfed. The nebula star cultivators simply had no method that could block it, and like its name said, it was black and evil tyranny that made people detest it bitterly. Yet, Zhao Cheng was not satisfied. After raising the black evil inkstone, he also bit open a fingertip, dispersing essence blood that dissolved into the black smoke. The black smoke immediately showed blood among its black, and the bloody light condensed together, seeming like an evil spirit from purgatory opening its bloody mouth. A few cultivators just looking at it felt themselves shudder while the masses already had been scared out of their wits. Blood sacrifice mind great array. 2, Jiang Yundao shouted in astonishment. The blood sacrifice mind great array was one of Liangshan continent's demonic arts, specially for refining one's own essence blood. Dissolving it into an ability, that ability then would show this kind of bloody and fiendish light. Not only would it let spellcasters have greater and easier control over their powers, the blood fiend within would make the powers might even more corrosive than before. From when the 5 nebula cultivators began to fight Su Xing, Zhao Cheng knew the valiance of the man before him, and when he acted, he wanted to directly slay Su Xing. The supreme-grade nebula artifact Black Evil Inkstone combined with the secret art Blood Sacrifice Mind Great Array. This kind of combined position that could loftily correspond to the Star Cultivator was fine. This was the Imperial family's Star Master of authority and power, Jiang Yundao thought to himself. Looking at Su Xing, he had originally thought this man would certainly be scared pale, or at least show alarm. However, he completely exceeded Jiang Yundao's imagination. Su Xing was steady and calm, not moved in the slightest. It seemed as if the blood-colored black smoke filling the sky was merely only so. Under Zhao Cheng's divine intent, The blood-like black smoke even more quickly condensed into an enormous form that sealed Su Xing's escape route before then engulfing Su Xing. Having been swallowed by the black smoke, they feared Su Xing certainly would be crippled or left half alive. When Su Xing scattered several heavenly lightning earthly fires that were cleanly swallowed by the black smoke, he immediately realized what was different about this black smoke. Once again looking at that clear blood light, it made the attacking blood smoke brim even more with a fierce look. Su Xing stowed away the firebolt sword, losing the obstruction provided by heavenly lightning earthly fire. The black smoke viciously bit at him, seeming like an evil spirit from the underworld. Su Xing shouted, and in his hand appeared a shield. The shield was carved with the seal of a divinatory diagram, the amulets flashing. An infant's crying broke through the air, and the weeping tore at the heart, shaking people from the core. The fiercely engulfing black smoke halted as if it had been stopped by something invisible, continuously stopped in midair. The shield's sound waves unceasingly beat upon the smoke. That congealed and unchanging black cloud withered a little bit, and Zhao Cheng could only sacrifice essence blood to further enlarge the black smoke so that it could finally counterattack. That is a magic weapon. Jiang Yundao stood up in shock. He shouted, overwhelmed. He could see with just a look that the shield in Su Xing's hand was the crying infant's ancient lost treasure earth shield refined. The magic energy on the shield appeared cloud-shaped, surrounding Su Xing. The black evil inkstone's black smoke could only tear at him from nearby, completely incapable of penetrating. How could an artifact break through a magic weapon's might? Zhao Cheng at this time was also astonished, unwilling to give up as he linked hand seals. A Taoist magic and essence blood shot into the black smoke, and in the blink of an eye, the black smoke completely enveloped Su Xing. The arena already appeared as a deep, dark color. The thick as black smoke absorbed every source of light. Shi Yuan saw this, and her heart could not help but tighten, springing up from her seat. There is no need to worry. Young Master's heaven sword has not been used. Wu Xinjie smiled. Even if Zhao Cheng's supreme-grade artifact and blood sacrifice mind emitted anything more brilliantly, he himself in the end was merely a nebula late-stage cultivator. In terms of magic power, Su Xing far surpassed him. A nebula magic weapon simply was not something a great Liang prince could shake up. Of course, that was unless he had some type of trump card. Wu Xinjie knit her brow. Sure enough, she saw that after Zhao Cheng saw that the black evil inkstone could only use up his magic energy in a steady flow, he abandoned continuing to support it. He turned to slapping his hand on a suspended charm. Light flashed, and a black chi cut and revealed a demon's broadsword. The black sword swelled several times in the wind, a demonic face that terrified people. The sword's hilt spat out a black light that hacked toward Su Xing. The Su Xing who used the heaven shield to defend was too late in making the adjustment. Everyone cried out in alarm, hastily dodging out of the way. As the broadsword slashed, the sticky and thick unchanging black smoke was torn open easily by this sword. The smoke rapidly faded away under the black sword's light. This unexpectedly was a nebula magic weapon. Lin Yingmei tightly clenched her fists, already rising, jumping down. All of the girls did not dare carelessly follow down, fearful that Su Xing met with a mishap. You thought only you had a magic weapon? Taste this king's crying ghost saber. 3. Zhao Cheng proudly laughed his head off. A ghost's cry resounded, and the black smoke dissipated. A tall and straight figure like a statue appeared before everyone's eyes as Zhao Cheng's smiling expression spontaneously ended. They only saw Su Xing hold single-handedly a large sword that held up the crying ghost saber slash. Another nebula magic weapon, heaven sword? Jiang Yunfei was in disbelief. He unexpectedly had two of the crying infant's immemorial lost treasures. It seemed very clearly refined by his own self. To only refine an ancient lost treasure into a nebula-grade magic weapon was far too extravagant. Jiang Yundao finally understood why Su Xing previously returned disdain for his words. Comparing unfairness, the artifacts of the guy before him were even more unfair. Su Xing coldly looked at Zhao Cheng. His feet moved, rushing towards him. Zhao Cheng hastily controlled the crying ghost saber to hack out ghost cries, but the equivalently nebula-ranked magic weapon Earth Shield easily resisted. This king's methods are not what you can imagine. Zhao Cheng bound a seal, and several dozen black-armored ghosts suddenly appeared in his surroundings. These black-armored ghosts under his divine intent promptly killed toward Su Xing. Su Xing's heaven sword slashed and hacked, cleaving onto a black-armored ghost. The black-armored ghosts actually were not frail as he thought. Slightly resembling blooming water divine thunder's shape-changing attack, the remaining black-armored ghosts bit at Su Xing like locusts. At this moment, the crying ghost saber lowered, and several sword lights swiftly flowed onto Su Xing's body. His skin promptly ached with a painful heat, cutting open several pitch-black wounds. Su Xing hastily retreated backwards, the black-armored ghosts following. Su Xing assembled his star energy onto the artifacts, and the earth shield was thrown out to obstruct the crying ghost saber. Subsequently, the heaven sword flew wildly in his hand. Sword lights scattered everywhere, rising high and sweeping. In the blink of an eye, it hacked apart these black-armored ghosts. Zhao Cheng violently spat out blood, his complexion pale. Su Xing's sword chopped into the wind. Zhao Cheng was helpless, recalling the crying ghost saber to his hand. The two nebula-grade magic weapons joined together, and with a shake, it shook the two people apart several meters. The stifling battle of this prison equals-like place finally showed a small chance to catch breath. The wounds he received from the crying ghost saber's tearing transmitted an odd poison, so Su Xing took out the detoxification bead and held it in his mouth. Zhao Cheng panted great mouthfuls, his heart already astonished. He repeatedly brought out the methods he was most proud of but was unable to take possession of the slightest convenience, and his opponent seemed to be abundantly collected. In addition, he had not used a thunder art against him. Just what is this bastard's background? Zhao Cheng did not dare believe there was a star master that could be above him. Besides his elder sister of the Great Liang who he was unable to contend against, even if it was the second Prince Zhao Heng, he was still 70% confident. However, the confidence he had accumulated had been, in a very short time, ravaged to nearly total ruin by Su Xing. Just which sect do you come from? Could you be of the White Tiger territory? Zhao Cheng believed he knew the star masters of this generation from the Azure Dragon territory like the back of his hand. Regardless of whether it was that exceptional and stunning genius, Xie Zhenyi, 5, of the Most High Path, 6, or the monster of the Lifeless Hall, 7, rarely seen in 100 years, Yan Wudao, 8, he understood both. Furthermore, he had never seen the Yun Yuzi before his eyes. Of course, using such an item as the change appearance pill to conceal his features, this was very difficult to say. How are all the martial arts, Your Majesty? The fourth prince learned a few of the corrupt type. Su Xing did not answer, only asking a question back, secretly holding Zhao Cheng to a new level of respect. The martial arts and magic weapons he displayed were very awesome. If he did not have nebula magic weapons, Su Xing would have had to waste a lot of heart blood to handle this. If it was anyone else, they would have been finished long ago. However, saying this back, even if Su Xing at this moment realized the valiant point of Star Maidens, according to his estimate, the abilities that the Zhao Cheng before his eyes showed simply could not withstand several of Lin Yingmei's attacks. No wonder people like Zhao Cheng desired powerful heavenly star military generals. Do you admit defeat? Su Xing saw that Zhao Cheng had exhausted all his strategies. You want to make this king concede? Ha! Zhao Cheng unashamedly laughed, and 3 or 4 black as ink flying swords flew out. Because he was only a nebula cultivator, he had not learned sword art abilities. The flying swords operated by his divine intent were not many, their might also not great, like an ordinary artifact. Su Xing's heaven sword slashes, and several top-notch artifacts disintegrated. Subsequently, his figure flashed, and Su Xing already went for the kill. Not conceding, then beat him until he did. Zhao Cheng threw the crying ghost saber. Obstructing Su Xing, he suddenly turned and ran towards the devil-suppressing steel. His sudden action made everyone baffled. Li Shirshir and the others under the devil-suppressing steel hastily got out of the way, so as to avoid the battle of these two bringing disaster to the pond fish. Su Xing deflected the crying ghost saber, at this moment seeing Zhao Cheng standing atop the towering devil-suppressing stone steel. He saw Zhao Cheng's expression was extremely malevolent, his hand holding a jade pendant. Grinning evilly, he cut open his wrist, fresh blood following the jade ornament as it flowed out with a glug-glug onto the devil-suppressing steel. They saw Zhao Cheng's face was fierce as a demon's, and they heard the sound of thunder. The heavenly star recruiting a master, open wide your eyes and witness this king's power. This king will make you accept me wholeheartedly. Jiang Yundao was greatly alarmed, immediately realizing what Zhao Cheng wanted to do. Your Highness, quickly stay your hand. 16 devil exorcising flying swords formed a sword array that floated around Jiang Yundao. When he saw Zhang Cheng's conduct and actions, this galaxy middle stage cultivator nevertheless suppressed the urge to stop himself. Zhao Cheng cut open the artery in his wrist, and blood followed the jade ornament, falling like a bubbling creek and instantly soaking into the devil-suppressing steel. The steel's bloodlines appeared while at the same time showing a glimpse of 99 devil-suppressing seals, and the 10 words on the steel twisted like tadpoles, showing its true nature. The originally very imposing characters at this instant seemingly wanted to breathe out supernatural beings. The devil-suppressing magic seals withered away one after another, and in an instant, a black wind on the steel blew. Black clouds pressed down on the city, and Stone Table City fell into darkness. The spectating masses already scattered and ran, and low-level cultivation star cultivators one by one lost their heads out of fear. They wanted to escape the city, but the black curtain that pressed down unexpectedly surrounded Stone Table City into itself. Within the fear and screams, Zhao Cheng's demonic sounds were like a devilish brainwashing noise. By means of mine essence blood as the medium, undo the devil-suppressing seals. The executed ghost cavalry divine generals of this place, come quickly, hear this king's dispatch. At the spot contaminated with blood, the devil-suppressing seals immediately melted, and in the blink of an eye, 13 devil-suppressing seals were undone in succession. The black winds were increasingly numerous, condensing into figures in midair. A figure with an indistinct hand that clutched a black iron sword, wore black iron armor, and was draped with a feather crest slowly descended like a divine soldier. Ghost Cavalry Divine General. 10 years ago, the Ghoul clans colluded with the Cloud Cover Empire to use every sort of secret technique and forbidden art to create an immediately terrifying Ghost Cavalry Divine General. These Ghost Cavalry Divine Generals used living souls as food, essence blood as air, neither slept nor complained, felt neither pain nor fear. At once, 33 Ghost Cavalry and 66 Divine Generals were like uninhabited locations, a long drive into the great Liang dynasty's Thousand Li. They defeated several 100,000 soldiers, almost taking the capital, Bian City. Emperor Liang personally met the enemy, killing all the Ghost Cavalry Divine Generals and erecting on the border a monument to intimidate the supernatural. Afterwards, Emperor Liang drove a wedge between the Ghoul clans and the Vermilion Bird Territory's 100 clans to incite discord, then extinguished hereafter the danger of the Ghoul clans. This was the publicly available data. However, what was not public was not written. Although Emperor Liang defeated the Ghost Cavalry Divine General personally, the Ghost Cavalry's head, the Ghost Cavalry King, 3, was extremely valiant. The two fought to Stone Tablet, and Emperor Liang relied on a prearranged devil-suppressing magic circle and devil-suppressing steel to finally suppress him. The devil-suppressing steel was forged from 99 precious materials including Precipice Mountain's breath soil, Head Mountain's pure copper, 5, Relic Blade dark iron, 6, Star Divine sand, 7, and others, then casted using heavenly fire simply was equivalent to a purple star-grade astral treasure. The 99 devil-suppressing seals inscribed on the steel established a secret technique for bidance. 10 years later, although many people wanted to break the devil-suppressing steel, basically, there was no one who could. Your Highness, could it be? Jiang Yundao suddenly somewhat realized why Zhao Cheng's body was all demonic arts' powerful magics. Zhao Cheng coldly laughed. He had waited for this moment already for a very long time. When the star duels originally commenced, Emperor Liang had his 5 children participate in the star duels to vie for imperial power. Furthermore, he conferred to each son and daughter one opportunity. The eldest daughter Princess Ling Yan obtained the personal teachings of 72 outer void flying deities sword. Second Prince Zhao Heng obtained 9 suns burning heaven true art, 9, while the third prince chose an equivalently supreme grade sword art, but only Zhao Cheng was an exception. What he chose was the demonic arts Wei, obtained from the initially extinguished Ghoul clan. At that time, he had been mocked and ridiculed by his siblings, who believed he was obsessed, courting disaster. Although the demonic school's magic allowed him to enormously promote his cultivation, he was only content for a time. How could they ever expect that Zhao Cheng's wild scheme actually was for the devil-suppressing steel's demon cavalry divine general? 3 years later, he finally knew how he should use the devil-suppressing steel. The devil-suppressing steel sensed imperial blood and unceasingly trembled in response. The devil-suppressing seals were more and more weak, the black wind transforming into a more concentrated shape. Your Highness, you must not do this. Located below it are all the monsters His Majesty was unable to handle. The flying swords around Jiang Yundao chirped. This official had no room to advance or retreat. What is there to be afraid of? This king possesses a way to make them swear allegiance. Zhao Cheng clutched the jade ornament, striking a seal. A whistling sound broke through the air. Zhao Cheng raised his head and saw Su Xing already sword riding and attacking, the heaven sword slicing the wind and cutting the moon. An ink-like defensive light cover unhurriedly opened, the magic weapon-grade heaven sword unable to cut it open. Su Xing released blooming water divine thunder, and the purple thunder washed away the black wind, breaking Zhao Cheng's defenses. Zhao Cheng saw this, and raising his divine intent, more than 10 high-grade talismans transformed into every sort of beast shape to block Su Xing. When Su Xing cleanly cut them down, at this moment, the devil-suppressing steel had 66 devil-suppressing seals undone. A gloomy black wind shrouded Stone Tablet City as black clouds pressed down, miserable, dark, and desolate. Go! Upon seeing this, Su Xing in response had the heaven sword transform into a rainbow light that cut downwards. At this moment, Jiang Yundao was unable to deal with that much anymore, and the descended devil sword array shot towards the black shadow. Bang! Black light flashed, and a long sword blocked, making Su Xing and Jiang Yundao's sword array result in failure. The shadow congealed into an entity as if it had substance. A black fierce mask-wearing, long sword-holding man appeared in the air. A type of formidable pressure unexpectedly shook the people and made them unable to breathe. Ghost Cavalry King? Jiang Yundao was stunned. Zhao Cheng was pleased, ordering, Ghost Cavalry King, quickly kill that bastard for me. What qualifications do you have to command me? The Ghost Cavalry King disdained to do so, raising his long sword. The devil-suppressing steel became something several inches in size in his palm. Zhao Cheng grasped the devil-suppressing steel in one hand and the jade ornament in the other, sneering, This king can release you as well as make you return. Should you serve this king can let you be happy in Liangshan. The Ghost Cavalry King stared. That jade ornament once was his personal artifact. Now, it was linked to the devil-suppressing seal's divine intent, and at any time, he could return to the ice-cold ground. The Ghost Cavalry King coldly grunted, stowing the long sword, and turning around, fell onto the stage light as a feather. A kind of powerful pressure constricted Su Xing as if Mount Tai were on his shoulder. The Ghost Cavalry King reportedly was a general of the Ghoul clan and proficient in military arts. He originally relied on the 7-cheek devil saber in his hand that shared equal fame as Emperor Liang's 72 outer void flying deity sword. Although he had been pressed down upon by the devil-suppressing steel for 10 years and his cultivation was greatly lowered, to Su Xing, he was still a frightening existence. As long as this king has the Ghost Cavalry King, do you still fear this star duel is unattainable? Zhao Cheng complacently howled with laughter. Your Highness, please quickly stop. This Ghost Cavalry King is not something Your Highness can manage. Jiang Yundao anxiously shouted. This shout drew the Ghost Cavalry King's killing intent. A blade slashed over, its speed quick to the peak. The 16 devil exorcising swords became a sword array to stop it. The sound of the wind shattered, and the long blade penetrated deeply. Unexpectedly, it cut open the devil exorcising swords and hacked at Jiang Yundao. The old Taoist's face lost its color. A Vajra official seal was tossed out that heavily smashed onto the Ghost Cavalry King's body. The Ghost Cavalry King's shadow ruptures, exposing an angry look. The sword chi tore the gold seal to shreds on Jiang Yundao's body, spitting out a black light that cleanly devoured him. What are you doing? Zhao Cheng was dumbfounded. The Ghost Cavalry King disdained to explain. This King 11 requires essence energy to recover. Could it be a little food is out of the question? Kill them quickly. Zhao Cheng was unsightly. The Ghost Cavalry King's actions flit past, and a Galaxy Middle Stage cultivator unexpectedly was killed off without the least bit of resistance. Su Xing was shaken. He saw the Ghost Cavalry King approach, and clutching the heaven sword, a purple cloud spilled over. A strange expression flashed across the Ghost Cavalry King's eyes. Looking at the wound smashed open in his stomach by the golden seal, he did not mind it and laughed gloomily. You still will not flee? Su Xing actually thought of escaping, but Stone Tablet City had been sealed by the dark clouds, just like as if it had turned into death row. Running completely lacked sense. Apparently, this place has rather good delicacies. The Ghost Cavalry King looked around his surroundings, playful eyes sweeping past Wu Xinjie and the rest. His tone not falling, the Ghost Cavalry King then raised the long sword in his hand and simultaneously shot towards Su Xing. Blooming Water Divine Thunder. The purple cloud Divine Thunder that Su Xing had spent a while condensing burst forth. Unable to deal with his real body being discovered, the Blooming Water Divine Thunder thick and solid as a python opened its mouth wide. A tearing sound. The Ghost Cavalry King unexpectedly used the demon saber in his hand to tear open the Blooming Water Divine Thunder, and then he slashed at Su Xing's neck in the blink of an eye. Su Xing had plentiful experience in close-quarters combat, and he rapidly leaned to the side, dodging, but the Ghost Cavalry King's attack plagued him like an evil spirit. An excellent and accurate method not inferior to Lin Chong. Lin Yingmei at this time had no choice but to expose her identity. Rapidly going on stage, her speed was swift to the peak, an ice-cold spear crossing against the Devil Saber's attack trajectory. The chilliness of the spear's edge was not something even the Ghost Cavalry King dared receive directly. The Ghost Cavalry King withdrew a step, looking astonished at the maiden who appeared, staring at that spear. Arctic Star Serpent Spear? Lin Chong. As expected, it is you, Purple Thunder Monster. Zhao Cheng forgot himself as he shouted. A Star General, this king has not yet eaten one. Seems she should be delicious. The Ghost Cavalry King revealed a malevolent expression. Bring it on. Lin Yingmei icily said. Her words had scarcely fallen, when their savage shadows interlinked, the two attacking each other. The Majestic Star and the Ghost Cavalry King were both excellent at martial arts. Each time they crossed blades, each moment was deadly, so tyrannical it made others incapable of interfering. The cold surrounding the weapons was just like a roaring demon wreaking havoc inside a room. The Arctic Star Spear's point suddenly became a chill that stabbed into the bone. Wherever it swept, not only was the air so pervaded it was like it had been frozen, even the solid stage floor was rapidly freezing. The white-hot weapon carried bursts of a blizzard, seemingly like a formless sickle. Together with the killing intent itself, it simultaneously slashed towards the opposing Ghost Cavalry King. In the next moment, along with the chopping motion, a several dozen meters wide black chi violently shot out from the sword's tip, directly pouncing towards Lin Yingmei. The latter promptly reversed backwards a step, raising her spear to sweep it away. The blizzard once again counterattacked the black chi. This time, the sharp blade was not in the least slowed down as it broke through the Ghost Cavalry King's defense. The blizzard became an even more threatening storm. The ghost shadow of the Ghost Cavalry King's entire body was increasingly frail under the spear's wind. Li Shishir, Quickly have that heavenly star come out and contract with this king? Lin Chong has already begun killing. Zhao Cheng's face was like an evil spirit's, roaring. Li Shishir had already been scared stiff by this face. This king possesses this fierce general, the ghost cavalry king. Could it be she still is unmoved, or were you swindling this king? Zhao Cheng's tone appeared gloomy. Li Shishir blankly looked at little E. A divine thunder attacked from behind, and Zhao Cheng promptly evaded, seeing Su Xing had unexpectedly was trying to kill him. You have Lin Chong, and you still vainly want a second heavenly star. How laughable. Today, this king will make you repent. You have already lost your reason. Quickly reseal this monster. Wu Xinjie and the rest approached, shouting. Today, do not think any of you will be leaving here alive. You already do not have the qualifications to sign a Star Duel Covenant. Before you give rise to an even greater injury, stop. The maid Little Yi's expressionless face stepped forward, her red eyes apathetically frightening. A small maid also dares to make thoughtless remarks to this king? Zhao Cheng sneered and struck seals. The devil-suppressing stone steel's 11 devil-suppressing seals collapsed, and several dozen ghost cavalry divine generals, showing malevolent faces, pounced towards Little E. Little E abruptly rushed forward, brandishing her fists. On those fists, a rainbow light and astral wind reflected each other. Like the tip of a sharp sword, a fist descended and smashed a ghost to pieces. The girl dropped down, her maid's skirt fluttering, wearing long white boots, flashing a red tattoo on her thigh. Su Xing noted that the exposed stretch of her white back flickered with a flame. Her hands already gained dark red and dark blue boxing gloves. Her fists flickered with starlight, possessing an echo of Pisces. Her forehead had a dazzling star crest. Her identity was self-evident. Su Xing was mute. Zhao Cheng was stupefied. What? You are that heavenly star. You are the skillful star, Wanderer Yan Qing. Zhao Cheng's whole body was trembling in excitement. Little E clenched her fists. Assuming a wrestling stance, that pair of red and blue clenched fists was rather dazzling, the two Pisces designs on her fists making swimming motions. Yin-yang Pisces fists. These were exactly the destined star weapons of the skillful star Yan Qing. Su Xing gulped, internally shouting. The cold and detached docile maid before his eyes unexpectedly was a heavenly star. This was far too outside of his expectations. Yan Qing ha. This is too good. The legendary Yan Qing is a master of pen and sword not just in name only, but also in reality. Zhao Cheng laughed loudly. Come quickly, sign a contract with this king. We shall ascend Maiden Mountain together. You do not have the qualifications to become my master. Yan Qing's expression was unsympathetic. Quickly stop. Hearing Yan Qing's refusal, Zhao Cheng's expression sunk, his tone unhappy. If this king wants wind, he gets wind. If he wants rain, he gets rain. How could this king not fit with you? Quickly sign a contract with this king. At that time, regardless of whether it is the exceptional genius Xie Zhenyuan of the Most High Path or the lifeless Hall's monster Yan Wudao, they will all obediently pledge allegiance underneath our feet. To see with his own eyes the heavenly star he yearned for in his dreams here, Zhao Cheng already was becoming feverish. Do not look at the skillful star wanderer Yan Qing as only the heavenly star's end. 2. In the heavenly stars, she was a brilliant and famous person. Not only could she play many instruments and was proficient in speech, verse, dance, and arts of all kinds, in terms of military strength, she was explosively awesome. Her close-quarters battle unarmed wrestling arts practically were hard to strive for. Her long range additionally had the legendary and famous color-changing 3 arrows lethal crossbow. 3. Even her service to others was at an outstanding standard. This kind of smooth and slick heavenly star that could handle everything was certainly more incredible than the 5 tiger generals. Reseal him? Yan Qing was expressionless. The heavenly star that Zhao Cheng had at last found was not joking around. He unbelievably shouted, "Are you mad? I have the Ghost Cavalry King Law Protector, just who could be our opponent?" Yan Qing raised her right hand, her 5 fingers clenched tight. A warm flame burned on her hand, and adopting an offensive stance, a powerful pressure shook. Seeing this posture of hers, Su Xing could not help but be moved. Zhao Cheng retreated several steps in fear, hysterical. "You have gone mad. This king is but the majestic great Liang's fourth prince. How many star generals implored this king, yet this king thought them beneath him." "Who?" Short hair rose. A warm flame drifted. The skillful star was equivalently severe, executing an attack the next second. This fist directly exploded onto Zhao Cheng's stomach, and even he did not have time to react. Violently spitting out a mouthful of blood, he continuously stumbled backwards 100 steps. His lapel had been shook open, revealing a golden and glistening treasure armor. It seemed that it was not inferior to the golden thread fish scale armor, Kasi. The top-notch treasure armor split open a crack. The might of Yan Qing's fist could clearly be seen. "I, Ghost Cavalry King, quickly come protect this king." The Zhao Cheng that survived by the skin of his teeth shouted, frightened. The Ghost Cavalry King heard Zhao Cheng's words and slightly wrinkled his brow, very displeased at this fellow. Still, he did not have much to say. Lin Yingmei's spear powerfully pierced by, the Arctic star's spear flickering, its silver light lustrous. The demon saber cleaved away Lin Yingmei's attack, the saber light's brightness forcing Lin Yingmei to retreat. Her figure like smoke ducked away, and the demon saber stopped Yan Qing's second fist. The girl's fists swung in a circle, her wrists shaking and trembling, and got rid of the Ghost Cavalry King's saber light. An 8 trigrams footwork wound towards the Ghost Cavalry King, and leaping upwards, the left fist of a cold flame attacked downwards. The Ghost Cavalry King's saber made contact, taking in and emitting black light as it went to devour Yan Qing. The girl's right hand intercepted it, and a powerful force shook Yan Qing back 100 steps. Seeing the Ghost Cavalry King handle Yan Qing and take the upper hand, Zhao Cheng's endlessly alarmed expression gradually calmed. He laughed heartily. "Yan Qing, since you are not willing to sign a contract, then this king will forcibly make you submit." The up until now apathetic girl swung her hand, shaking apart the remaining black qi. Lin Yingmei and the rest stood to the left and right. "This Ghost King is not easy to handle. Joining hands will be better," Wu Xinjie said. Yan Qing calmly glanced at them, not saying a word. "The legendary star generals. It seems you have real skill." The Ghost Cavalry King's voice dropped. Su Xing at this time struck seals. Several dozen flowers of purple star-blooming water divine thunder blossomed. Although these did not have one bit of use taking care of the Ghost Cavalry King, the magic purple cloud actually could restrain the Ghost Cavalry's black qi. The Ghost Cavalry King disdainfully swung his saber, and the several dozen blooming water divine thunders were extinguished in the blink of an eye. However, this was only the beginning. 2 beautiful figures simultaneously fell before him. The Arctic Star Spear and the Yin-Yang Pisces fists enveloped the Ghost Cavalry King like a mirage, like a shadow. The Ghost Cavalry King did not dare be careless. Drawing out another shadow from the saber that appeared in a flash, it covered all the empty space behind him, a mighty and formidable shadow that seemed to break down that space, and it fiercely tore open the earth. For a moment, Stone Table City was completely covered with black clouds, dust clouds pervading the air. In the pervading dust cloud, Lin Ying already broke through the defenses and arrived. And at the same time, Yan Qing's assault also attacked, a move that collapsed strength. The flickering black demon's saber of a shadow was brimming with killing qi. The Ghost Cavalry King used his weapon with one hand to block everything. The sounds of weapons suddenly striking. The aftereffect of the power of one of her fists was ample, and the Ghost Cavalry King unceasingly stepped backward. Just during the time he was sent reeling backwards, Yan Qing lowered her body and dived, her footwork nimble, launching another opportune attack in the blink of an eye. The 2 fists gathered power. Running water boxing. Raging flame boxing. 5. From time to time, it was quiet as an ice pool. From time to time, it moved like the sound of thunder. Yan Qing's boxing arts alternated their situation, continuous and unending. A yin and a yang Pisces occasionally converged then split apart, striking the black qi to pieces. The power of Lin Yingmei's spear also was not to be outdone. A nip in the air turned into wind. The freezing wind like a blade secretly sealed the Ghost Cavalry King's insolent chi. Often, the Ghost Cavalry King had thought of relying on magic energy to struggle free, but he had been restrained by these two girls. If it was not for him already refining his body into a ghost, perhaps the bones of his body would have broken. This was a heavenly star military general's military power? That fierce toothy mask suddenly emitted black light, and the air sharply hissed. The Ghost Cavalry King in a flash increased his frightening speed. Stone tablet cities flying sand struck the rocks. Divine Ghost Mirage. 6. The Ghost Cavalry King roared. Suddenly, his figure seemed to disperse like smoke, and 33 Ghost Cavalry abruptly appeared. Each Ghost Cavalry's hand raised a long fork, wore black armor, and were evil and gloomy. Su Xing was startled. What cultivation method was this? The Ghost Cavalry King split into 33 Ghost Cavalry units that pounced at everyone in the square, wanting to engulf flesh to replenish himself. Su Xing threw out the Earth Shield to protect Wu Xinjie and the rest. Controlling an incantation, the Heaven Sword launched and grandly cut apart the surroundings. Lin Yingmei's spear light was like snow, long blizzard nights that completely lacked restraint, rolling up those more than a dozen Ghost Cavalry, the blizzard twisting them dead cleanly. In the blink of an eye, the black wind once again aggregating into the Ghost Cavalry King's original body, but it would appear that he was considerably terrible. How are you this useless? Zhao Cheng did not dare believe this. The magnificent, able to oppose Father Emperor Ghost Cavalry King unexpectedly could not take down 2 heavenly stars. This king's essence blood has yet to be restored, and this king was under the devil suppression for a long time. This king can kill anything. The Ghost Cavalry King said, inevitably and rightly. Zhao Cheng hesitated, gnashing his teeth and again opening 11 devil-suppressing seals. This time, more than 30 black winds simultaneously gathered on the Ghost Cavalry King's body, his imposing bearing increasing sharply. The Ghost Cavalry King coldly shouted, a pressure that shook Su Xing and the rest backwards. The silhouette dashed. Saber light sprung up everywhere. Star General, taste this king's ghost's god's bane. 7. The Ghost Cavalry King evilly smiled. The imposing manner of Lin Yingmei and the rest were chopped. Fully aroused protective star energy barely blocked it, but the Ghost Cavalry King's ghost's god's bane already hacked head-on towards Lin Ying. A silver light flashed. The Heaven Sword blocked this ghost's god's bane, the sword edge splitting apart. Su Xing actually did not fall back. Opening his mouth, more than a dozen rock-piercing water droplets immediately were spat out. Seeking death, the Ghost Cavalry King brandished his saber, sending Su Xing flying. The dozen purple cloud rock-piercing water droplets struck upon his body. The Ghost Cavalry King did not expect this simply unworthy cultivator would even have this. He was forced back several steps by the rock-piercing water droplets. Lin Yingmei coldly shouted, her spear persistent. She directly penetrated the Ghost Cavalry King's chest. The Ghost Cavalry King spurted out an engulfing black light. At this time, yet another figure flashed. Although the Knowledge Star did not have any attack strength, how could the ranked third in star energy be a joke? A star crest appeared on her forehead, the star energy protecting her body like a shield. She crossed both arms, stiffly blocking this black light. Star General, the Ghost Cavalry King became a shadow, retreating several dozen meters away. Having never faced 3 Star Generals, he felt startled. Suddenly, he sensed an approaching strict storming approaching on the attack. The skillful star Yan Qing attacked in the blink of an eye. The Ghost Cavalry King's long sword was about to chop at her. Inconceivably, Yan Qing suddenly blinked to right in front of him. The distance between them seemed to not exist, and he only saw her 2 fists continuously wave. In the blink of an eye, she had already linked several dozen fists. A powerful air mass carried a swift and fierce sharp hissing towards the Ghost Cavalry King, attacking from the front. Stop it? Escape it? It seemingly changed into something extravagant. Yan Qing's fists were ferocious flames, moving with a fully invasive nature. The yin-yang Pisces fist showed off two kinds of cold and warm light. The bright light exploded on the ghost cavalry king, quickly dazzling. Su Xing and the rest were frightened frozen. This is Yan Qing's yellow rank style? Su Xing mouthed. This invasively fierce boxing made people choke. His guess was not incorrect. This exactly was Yan Qing's yellow rank style. Swallow flash samsara. Rumble. The air burst open. The final fist fiercely struck without a second. The ghost cavalry king's body and soul were nearly extinguished. Hurry and completely undo the devil-suppressing seals. The ghost cavalry king thundered at Zhao Cheng. Wu Xinjie stared blankly, hastily blocking. Don't? Seeing the ghost cavalry king unexpectedly almost struck dead and also roaring at him like this, Zhao Cheng subconsciously hastily undid the devil-suppressing steel's final layer of devil-suppressing seals to help the ghost cavalry king some. Should he die, that was of no benefit to himself. The final 33 divine general souls flew out. A haze deep as a black cloud seemingly pulled Stone Tablet City into the underworld. They saw the weak grandeur of the ghost cavalry king once again rejuvenate sharply, especially that ghost's god's bane sharp and penetrating black light's depth that made people unable to look at it straight. This blockhead is going to die. Shi Yuan, in a moment, go take the devil-suppressing steel, Wu Xinjie lowly shouted, instructing Shi Yuan. The thief star nodded, retreating backwards and covertly entering the darkness. Only when Zhao Cheng heard Wu Xinjie's warning did he realize he committed a blunder. The 99 devil-suppressing seals completely were undone, and the ghost cavalry king's cultivation immediately reached an incomprehensible realm. The fierce and toothed mask was extremely malevolent. Zhao Cheng tightly clutched the jade ornament, his voice shaking. Quickly kill them now. Leaving only Yan Qing is fine. The ghost cavalry king acknowledged, somewhat indifferent. Zhao Cheng manufactured several tens of high-grade talisman beast bows. Rise, that Yan Qing is who? The ghost cavalry king turned his head, asking as he wished. That one that uses boxing. Zhao Cheng replied. In an instant, a strange change suddenly appeared. Zhao Cheng abruptly discovered his right arm had no feeling. When he looked, his arm unexpectedly had been chopped off by a black light. Zhao Cheng screamed, and the ghost cavalry king solemnly arrived before him bringing a black fiend. Those talisman beasts simply did not even have a reaction. Black light cracked their bodies, turning them into ashes. You wish to control this king? Truly overestimating yourself. The ghost cavalry king's saber swung down. Zhao Cheng could only throw out the devil-suppressing steel. The devil-suppressing steel was a large treasure. Even if it was fiercely thrown down like this, the might was fierce. Besides, this devil-suppressing steel was the nemesis of the ghost cavalry king who had a ghost body. The devil-suppressing steel's golden light flashed, forcing the ghost cavalry king to but only change to a spirit and disperse. And the Zhao Cheng who picked up a life immediately threw out an earth-escaped divine talisman. He disappeared into the ground he was at. The ghost cavalry king's void body again appeared before them in midair. They saw him open his mouth, and the black light he spat out devoured the flesh of the corpses of several dozen star cultivators to replenish the vital energy Yan Qing injured just now. This demonic technique made Su Xing feel disgusted and wretched. The ghost cavalry king did not chase after the fleeing Zhao Cheng. That man was not worth mentioning anyways. What he was even more excited about were the delicacies present below. He evilly and sorrowfully laughed. You almost toyed this king to death just now. Now, it is this king's turn to toy you to death. You've only just been released and you're already saying this sort of big talk. That's not too good, is it? Su Xing sneered, the heaven sword and earth shield suddenly swelling several times in size, setting off hostilities. On the other hand, his divine intent held onto the intertwined branch sword. This divine sword of 1,000-year contract perhaps could hardly harm him. The ghost cavalry king's devil mask seemingly laughed, a ghost's cold ridicule. Wu Xinjie initiated think then act. The ghost cavalry king's cultivation made Wu Xinjie very astonished. His cultivation was only at supercluster middle stage, but his martial arts actually were unfathomably extreme. Speaking in terms of the realms of star generals, he unexpectedly reached a frightening realm, matchless realm. The current Lin Chong and Yen Qing were at realms that fell far behind. The grim thing was that the Ghost Cavalry King's cultivations still continued to rise. She was very clear that for him to be able to fight against Emperor Liang, at that time, Emperor Liang's cultivation had already stepped into Super Void grade. That Ghost Cavalry King also was at least this rank. Although he had just been released from the Devil Suppressing Steel, if they let him recover to his peak state, the chance of victory for the presently not at all complete star generals was close to unclear. The knowledge star raised this thought, but she saw the dark clouds sealing the city. This clearly would not work. To make a prompt choice, only when he had reached galaxy stage could they defeat him. Otherwise, they were powerless to reverse the rotation of the sky. Thinking to hear, she immediately sound transmitted to everyone. The current Ghost Cavalry King was not at all invulnerable. Due to his excellent military skills, the opposite was that his magic energy was shallow. This was his weak point. The knowledge star began to ponder over methods to deal with the Ghost Cavalry King. At this time, Yen Qing and Lin Yingmei advanced forward with quick steps, without the slightest bit of fear. The Ghost Cavalry King laughed gloomily, suddenly bursting out. His speed was even more transient. That was a thing that happened in a split second. Lin Yingmei and Yen Qing were still maintaining their attack stances when the Ghost Cavalry King suddenly appeared between the two. In the wake of a swing of the demon saber ghost's God's Bane, saber light and a shadow tore at them, a whistling emission. If the shadows of the Ghost Cavalry King's twisting body were all sent out as devils, a terrible pressure would scatter and launch into all directions in the surroundings, and the Lin Yingmei who had been approaching in this way immediately became his first victim. An explosion of black light flashed, and Lin Yingmei's horizontal spear looped out a cold light. However, there still was a part of the saber light that went through a nearly non-existent gap and tore Lin Yingmei. The girl tightly bit her teeth, collapsing onto the ground. When the spear swept towards the shadow, more than a dozen black wounds had already appeared on her body. The Yen Qing on the other side faced him with her fists making a rush. The Ghost Cavalry King continuously endured for a bit, too, then he flung his sword. Another violently shot ray lifted a frightening pressure that firmly pressed Yen Qing into the ground. But the Ghost Cavalry King's attack was far from finished. Within the intense black shadow, the strange demon blade pulsed. Several arcs of sword chi appeared momentarily, continuously attacking the place where Yen Qing fell, in a flash, digging out an immense pit. Wailing impacts continuously erupted, and the sand and stone and other debris launched by the saber chi filled the sky. The earth had been torn apart as if it were falling snowflakes, and smoke filled the air. Merely relying on a ghost's God's Bane, the Ghost Cavalry King's tyrannical destructive power was displayed without doubt. Behind the saber chi launched everywhere, cold light suddenly shot out of the Ghost Cavalry King's eyes. Abruptly, his two hands gripped this strange weapon. He spread apart his ghostly figure as he instantly concentrated on the weapon in his hands. The ghost's God's Bane absorbed ghosts by the greedy mouthful, black and black fusing together, twisting together, and a strange harmonious mix came into being, emitting an aura of death intimidated people. Careful, it's a sword maneuver. Wu Xinjie raised the heaven-concealing star fan. Blowing speed is a crucial asset in war onto everyone present. At the same time a long cry sounded out, the ghost's God's Bane seemingly swept over like a shooting star. It carried a tyrannical might that hacked towards the hole with Yen Qing. It was a pity there already were no longer living spectators that could witness this stupefying drama. A black cloud was seemingly sucked into the sword, chopping heavily together with the weapon. It seemed as if the heavens were for his use. Time stopped, and a split second was like an eternity. Everything in the surroundings seemed to have been frozen in their time and place. This was the sword maneuver of the matchless realm ghost's God's Bane. Countless black clouds chomped at Yen Qing. Even the formidable imposing air was unable to elicit a change from the detached girl. They saw Yen Qing stamp her leg, bend her body backwards, her two fists open-handed. Water flowing from her palms slowly made a controlled change, and a Taiji 3 appeared in Yanqing's hand. The Pisces on her hand circulated around as if they had come to life. A kind of indescribable softness immediately soothed the berserk black light, the ghost controlled to being meek in her hand. "Hey!" Yanqing stepped, pushing it into the void. The ghost promptly vanished like smoke into thin air. "Star General, you are very interesting." The Ghost Cavalry King was not angry when he saw his own frightening maneuver be played down. He smiled, his fatal attack was starting only just now. However, a spear suddenly appeared at the center portion of the Ghost Cavalry King's Ghost's God's Bane, rigidly blocking him. The white air mass flowing out from the spear tip counteracted the black baleful aura densely covering the Ghost Cavalry King's demon saber. Despite the mad chop of power like a violent wave of the Ghost Cavalry King, this spear's shaft blocked it. Unexpectedly, it could not move the slightest bit, rigidly fixed in midair. Lin Yingmei coldly lifted one corner of her mouth. The majestic star's weapon was sufficient to match against Ghost's God's Bane. Then, with a swing of the spear, long blizzard nights swept out. Yanqing nodded her head, immediately flashing to within long blizzard nights. Boosted with speed is a crucial asset in war. This speed was violently swift. The cold and warm lights within the snowstorm leapt around, banging sounds continuously sounding out. Shockingly, it was Swallow Flash Samsara. Su Xing quickly resonate with Yingmei? Wu Xinji urged at this time. Su Xing nodded, immediately setting hand signals. They saw a star array simultaneously flicker, and the blizzard turned even larger, the storm even fiercer. After a Star Master and a Star General signed a contract, the Star General would contribute a portion of her own star energy to her contractor. From the surface, it seemed the Star General had gains that did not make up for the losses, but there actually was an additional benefit. This was resonance. The so-called resonance let the contractor urge on each other's Star Crest contract array to shift their own star energy and thoughts to the Star Maiden. With things like this, the Star Maiden's realm would, for a set time, be greatly promoted. If an earthly star military general wanted to defeat a heavenly star military general, even with a top-notch heavenly star military general or such, this kind of contract resonance was the only way. Of course, this resonance had a fatal flaw. At the time the Star Master began to shift his own strength, then he would be trapped motionless where he was. During this time, unless the Star General severed the resonance, in the case he moved, there would be backlash. In addition, after the resonance started, the Star Master really was like fish meat on a chopping board about to be slaughtered. Within a star duel of Star Masters, unless they had protection magics protecting their bodies, this kind of resonance was very difficult to achieve. After all, both sides were controlling the counterpart's resonance. However, if they confronted a Star General that was alone, there was an enormous advantage. In past generations of star duels, the strength star Jade Qilin, publicly known as the one with the strongest military force, died many times under the resonance of a contractor and Star General. Let's help Master with protection magic. Wu Xinjie and the others stood guard next to him, star energy skyrocketing. Lin Yingmei's star crest rotated like flowing water, her eyes suddenly pure white. Under resonance, in an instant, she entered 10,000 techniques realm. Her spear's power piled up like tides, instantly penetrating the Ghost Cavalry King's body with holes. Bang bang bang. 66 Ghost Cavalry and 33 Divine Generals abruptly separated from his body. The Ghost Cavalry King that could take things lying down and fool Zhao Cheng into undoing all the seals was not stupid. Immediately, he dispersed his body to separate from the pressure Lin Yingmei brought. Seeing the peculiarity of Su Xing and the others to the side, he vaguely realized something, angrily moving over for the kill. The Ghost Cavalry King holding Ghost God's Bane in his hand had only just broke through Lin Yingmei's spear technique, but the skillful star Yanqing cleverly pivoted backward, blocking in front of him. However, the Ghost Cavalry King's matchless realm indeed was invulnerable. Yanqing's boxing could not bring any damage at all. However, the girl's objective was only to fight for time to give Su Xing and Lin Yingmei resonance. As expected, The Ghost Cavalry King froze for a moment. After Lin Yingmei's violent attack tore open more than a dozen divine generals, it suddenly invaded. The 10,000 Techniques realm majestic star broke through the obstructions of the Ghost Cavalry King's shadow. She seized the time she was in resonance to spare no effort in wanting to dispatch her enemy in a spurt of energy. Resounding metal sparked in the air, ignited blood in an omen. Damn it! The Ghost Cavalry King's expression changed. The two heavenly stars before his eyes were much more formidable than he imagined. Originally, he thought he could easily win, but his own Ghost's God's Bane unexpectedly could not take any sort of advantage over the opponent's weapon. The Ghost Cavalry King raised an upturned hand, the shadows on the saber just like countless chains pounced all around, wishing to seal off the coordination of the two girls. A cold laugh. When Lin Yingmei attacked, her speed abruptly increased. Behind her was an illusory ghost. These clones were real and fake, passing off the fake as real. Each one's attack was completely full of a murderous aura. This exactly was the 10,000 Techniques realm's feature. Ghost's God's Bane breathed out a weight, and the ghosts broke the doppelgangers in less than half a second. Lin Yingmei's spear ran through, and an illusory shadow emerged from the spear. However, as far as the Ghost Cavalry King's excellent military skills, it still was not enough to confuse him. His long sword deflected it, and Yan Qing's attack again closed in. Her right hand was covered in a warm light, the surroundings suddenly rolling out an intense whirlwind. A huge wind pressure made those terrifying shadows roll away. In the unbounded dazzling rays, the girl's vermilion pupils was still solemn and detached. Her body bending backwards, and after she stopped briefly, she suddenly bounced back, her right fist swinging out all the strength her body was already carrying. The instant she sent out her fist, time seemed to stand still, the surrounding air seemingly idle for a second. The Ghost Cavalry King's fist crashed into Yan Qing's fist. The powerful fist made the square shake and almost seemingly sink. Damned bastard! The shadow hacked down in a flash. Yan Qing's body flew out. The Ghost Cavalry King was about to chop at her when a white figure abruptly descended in front of him, brimming with killing intent. A glaring light extended from the Ghost Cavalry King's shoulder blade across his entire upper body, nearly cutting him in half. Red blood light directly shot out from within. A blood-curdling scream. The Ghost Cavalry King twisted out a loud shout. The Ghost Cavalry divine generals that left his body all returned. If it was not for his training this odd soul body, the ordinary person would already have been done for. However, Lin Yingmei's at all costs spear attack was not at all ineffective. The Ghost Cavalry King's Ghost Cavalry unexpectedly had a portion extinguished. His cultivation instantly fell to supercluster early stage. Wu Xinjia's eyes glowed, and she saw hope. However, this type of hope had not sustained for long when the Ghost Cavalry King exposed his natural malevolence. All of you die. Ghost's God's Bane was raised, at last no longer restrained, and the demon saber transformed into an immense evil dragon. The Ghost Cavalry King was incapable of believing that the spirit body even Emperor Liang was unable to deal with unexpectedly had been grievously injured by the girl before his eyes. The Ghost Cavalry King was indignant. His magic energy gathered, and his demon blade became an evil dragon that bit at Lin Yingmei. Blood light suddenly appeared. The angry demon blade lifted Lin Yingmei's body, throwing her backwards. The Arctic Star Spear was directly flung out of her hands. If it was not for the Star General's indestructible body, this sword at least would cut off her entire right arm. This sword attack also made Su Xing and Lin Yingmei's resonance briefly break off. Su Xing vomited a mouthful of blood and happened to see the Ghost's God's Bane about to bite the completely defenseless Lin Yingmei. This explosive speed of the Ghost Cavalry King was too fast, for the others simply were too late to go save her. Su Xing stepped forward. Execute Chaotic Tail Escape. Blocking in front of Lin Yingmei, the evil dragon bit onto Su Xing's body, crushing his ribs. The golden thread fish scale armor was completely torn open as if it were paper, plainly showcasing this attack's terror. Young master! Lin Yingmei hastily held the fallen Su Xing in fear. The evil dragon was just about to bite Su Xing to pieces, when at this time, an object of flickering gold light smashed onto the evil dragon. The evil dragon howled grievously as it was smashed apart. Shi Yuan and the rest hastily rushed in front of Su Xing, and when they saw the wretched sight of Su Xing, they were deathly pale for a while. "You dared to injure young master. This young lady wants your life." The thief's star was wrathful, sallying her hoodwinking flying claws. "Don't." Wu Xinjie had not yet finished yelling. The demon dragon spat light, a large sword flash that flung open the flying claws. Penetrating through Shi Yuan, the ghost cavalry king in a flash rode over, his saber like the evil dragon. It seems you want to die together for love. Then let me help you." Su Xing once again used the chaotic tail escape to appear before Shi Yuan. The intertwined branch sword's green light flickered, then stopped the demon saber. This divine sword of thousand-year contract was sufficient to match with the Ghost Cavalry King's demon saber. The matchless realm Ghost Cavalry King was only blank for a moment, then he waved the demon saber. The yin-yang Pisces blocked the Ghost God's bane. Yanqing's fists flew out and explosively sent the Ghost Cavalry King backwards. Those indifferent pupils of hers for the first time appeared flabbergasted. Why would you go protect a star general? Everyone knew a star general possessed an indestructible body. After signing a contract, regardless of how great the injury received, as long as the star general entered the star nest and relied on the contractor's star energy for support, they would recover. However, contractors were different. When the star nest and star general were linked, in the case that the contractor received harm, the star general herself would also receive injury. If the contractor died, the star general would then suffer enormous injury to her vital energy such that she would be reduced to a cripple, so each person in the star duels all realized the most important thing for a contractor was that a star maiden forever would assume the responsibility of admitting death. In other words, the contractor should even feel that the star general should die for them. Who would let his own women die for him? Don't find any vital interests at stake. That is merely the excuse of a weakling. Su Xing wiped the blood from the side of his mouth. After all, he possessed professionalism as well as his being from another civilization on Earth. He could not indifferently look on as they died for him, no matter how great of a benefit existed in between. Wu Xinjie and the rest were shaken. Although Su Xing already on more than one occasion brought them feelings they never had, this time, they felt that their hearts had been moved. Perhaps it was precisely because of this characteristic that stood out from the rest of the Liangshan continent that he deeply attracted their service. Yanqing was incomparably shocked. The black dragon once again swooped down. Yanqing returned to her senses, one fist repelling the demon blade. The corner of the girl's mouth showed a faint curve. "Do you truly feel this way?" She did not turn her head around. "What?" Su Xing did not understand her words at all. The skillful star easily danced, and her hand gained a crossbow. That crossbow had a peculiar shape. Its entire body was filled with dark lines, sparkling and translucent like blood. When Yanqing took it into her hands to take aim, they only saw the tattoo on the girl's spotlessly white snowy back simultaneously flash a flame-like light. That was a type of unprecedented magnificence. Those red lines began to jump as if life had been poured into them, and a blaze entered the middle of the crossbow. The crossbow's dark marks simultaneously flashed rather than join. The dark red light started to become a crossbow's arrow. 3 arrows lethal crossbow. Wu Xinjie was shaken, but it was not just she. Lin Yingmei, and Suan and Shi Yuan all were also dumbfounded. Of course it was not strange they would be this astonished. If they knew the history of Yanqing's 3 arrows lethal crossbow, then they would know that was a fully legendary folktale. The 3 arrows lethal crossbow. The skillful star wanderer Yanqing's legendary martial art, her second destined star weapon. 2. The 3 arrows each constituted devotion, power. 3. Admiration, valor, and resolution, sacrifice. 5. The 3 arrows simultaneously aimed to hit the target, piercing the sun and breaking the moon, moving the mountains and draining the seas, its might boundless. However, the 3 arrows lethal crossbow was a destined star weapon that would only appear when Yanqing was moved. But to make Yanqing emotionally moved was no ordinary challenge. The opportunities for the 3 arrows lethal crossbow in previous generations of star duels were not many, but how should this be said? All of heaven's myriad dharmas returned to the one, yin and yang were in equilibrium. Do not look at the 3 arrows lethal crossbow as terrible, but as having 2 massive failings. The first weakness was that the 3 arrows lethal crossbow could only be used once in each star duel's phase, and the second failing was even more terrible. After usage, the 3 arrows would take the enemy's life, and that Yanqing's own body would also lose half her life. In other words, her vital energy would be greatly harmed. Indeed, this was the so-called kill 3,000 enemies, self-harm by 800 sort of move. Thus, Yanqing rarely showed this 3 arrows lethal crossbow. Wu Xinjie envied and lamented this. She also had a second star weapon, but it was just that she currently did not know what she should do to make it appear. 6. Gentlemen. 7. Conceal tools on their person, waiting for an opportunity and then acting. Unchanging loyalty to the extent of death. Su Xing was not clear on the history of the 3 arrows lethal crossbow, but seeing the girl halt, her mouth spitting an incantation, her star crest flickering, the stars resonating, the star array fluttering, he realized she currently was doing something awesome. And it seemed she was completely defenseless right now. The Ghost Cavalry King evidently felt fear, promptly again letting out Ghost Cavalry Divine Generals. Lin Wangmai had sustained heavy injuries, and not only did that full power attack of hers inflict serious damage on the Ghost Cavalry King, she herself had collapsed just as if she was incapable of fighting anymore. Wu Xinjie and Suwen and Shi Yuan assumed the responsibility to protect the majestic star. Fortunately, the star weapon could briefly hold back the tyranny, but if it wanted to again advance half a step, that was impossible. The Ghost Cavalry King split in 2 directions, slashing towards Yanqing. And the girl closed her eyes in meditation, completely defenseless, as if that saber did not exist at all. Kind of silent trust. Su Xing bit his teeth, enduring the tremendous injury to his ribs as he dove over. The just wounded Ghost Cavalry King again used Divine Ghost Mirage. The original body's capabilities greatly decreased, and in addition to the fact he was a cultivator proficient only in martial arts, he did not have sword arts, artifacts, or magic weapons. If he relied on simple weapons to oppose him, the injured Su Xing could also barely ward the Ghost Cavalry King off. It was just that the cost of this resistance was scars all over his body. Continuously receiving the Saberlight's sadistic assault, he made the heart of the girls behind him hurt tremendously. This guy surprisingly did not escape the Ghost Cavalry King's saber brushed over, again adding to Su Xing a wound deep enough to reveal bone. Seeing Su Xing unexpectedly disregard his life and wrap himself, this was the first time the Ghost Cavalry King encountered such a thing. Su Xing was only a nebula late-stage cultivator in his eyes, an ant he could pinch to death at any time, but against reason, this mere ant showed a matchless valiant determination. His body was like a city wall, unwilling to move in the slightest. The space between the two once more splashed with a violent spark. This time, the Ghost Cavalry King's black saber light did not run through Su Xing's frail defenses. He directly nipped Su Xing full of cuts and bruises. They only saw that intertwined branch sword in his hand become enveloped in green light, as if it sensed the original kind intentions of its owner's protection. Not only did it begin to resist the sword light, a kind of fantastic energy made Su Xing forget the pain that was tearing at him. However, this type of defense and resistance was far from enough. The Ghost Cavalry King indeed stood simultaneously at the peak of power and speed, a character that previously contended against Emperor Liang. Even if he had only been released from the devil-suppressing steel and received serious damage from Linning, he was still a great deal higher than Su Xing in realms. When the Ghost Cavalry King's demon saber transformed into an evil dragon that cleanly devoured the green light of the intertwined branch sword, the specter completely unfolded for a moment, like a gale that continuously slashed and oppressed Yanqing. Su Xing coldly shouted. Bringing his body to the limits, he forced out a blooming water divine thunder. Purple clouds diffused everywhere, and the divine thunder changed into a python. This was also thanks to the blooming water spirit mixing pill that Ensuan refined that made the blooming water divine thunder acquire a spiritual nature. Because he previously knew that this could not bring harm to the ghost cavalry king, Su Xing did not use it in any particular way. Now, he practically did not have star energy, but the blooming water divine thunder in his body actually was abundant beyond expectations. The blooming water divine thunder python then rolled out from inside Su Xing's body and bit the demon blade evil dragon. Lightning rumbled and purple lightning struck everywhere. At this time, upon Yan Qing's 3 arrows lethal crossbow, the second arrow already formed. The ghost cavalry king's fierce teeth were ice cold. His long sword violently slashed, and the blooming water divine thunder was hacked to bits and pieces. A saber light swift to the extreme directly swept past from Su Xing's body. Su Xing's legs stamped into the ground, fixing him as if they were nails. Red blood floated, and the hearts of the girls watching were stirred. He really was not sent flying. Die! The ghost cavalry king slashed vertically. The intertwined branch sword again horizontally blocked, and the heaven sword and earth shield at this moment also came to protect him. The ghost cavalry king's sword light heavily swept over. The already again heavily injured Su Xing's arms blocked horizontally. The pressure Su Xing felt dispersing from the ghost cavalry king made him feel the bones in his arms were nearly about to shatter. Then, an exploding fist almost tore apart Su Xing's internal organs. An immense pain. Su Xing tightly pursed his lips. At this time, the girls over there by Wu Xinjie already were extremely worried. If this continued, Su Xing would undoubtedly die. The knowledge star's mind spun rapidly, looking for a countermeasure to deal with the situation. Suddenly, she saw the devil suppressing steel to the side, immediately having Shi Yuan go grab it. The divine generals the ghost cavalry king led out were very violently tyrannical. The besieged girls without military power continuously were beat back. Wu Xinjie threw out a copper chain to block them, immediately afterwards using her body as a shield. Her body was pierced through by a divine cavalry, yet her expression did not change. Shi Yuan tacitly understood what to do and hastily rushed over. The divine cavalry waved its weapon to chop Wu Xinjie's head, SFX, clang clang. An ice-cold spear pierced through the ice-cold flame and dissolved this danger. Lining grasped her spear in one hand, her expression bone-chilling. She waved the pike with one arm, an irresistible force, and the spear tore this divine cavalry to shreds. The terrible sound of flesh and blood penetrated. "Big brother!" And Ensuan shouted in fright. This time, finally, Su Xing did not block the ghost cavalry king's demon saber, his stomach directly pierced by the sword. Contending against this king for this long by means of your cultivation, this is your damned place. The ghost cavalry king sneered. His mirages melted together into one body. Abruptly, a purple-colored thunder and lightning broke out of his body, following the demon blade and being expelled by the ghost cavalry king. The ghost cavalry king did not expect Su Xing at this time to unexpectedly still be able to use an astonishing thunder. Watch this king eat your replenishing essence chi. The ghost cavalry king opened his mouth, and a black light pounced towards Su Xing. Su Xing's face did not change expressions. Then he smiled. Behind him, a calm, solemn, and graceful sound. The gentleman attends to the source established then gives birth to the way. To this greater good, I offer my body, my path in life. 3 arrows resonated. The girl opened her eyes. 1. So much for invincible armor, how ironic. An item he got from an undead has been destroyed by another undead. Right arrow curving left 2. Lolwit, they can have more than one? Right arrow curving left 3. Right arrow curving left 4. Right arrow curving left 5. Right arrow curving left 6. Well, I don't recall the authors saying star generals had only one destined star weapon. Right arrow curving left 7. Seems to be the Confucian usage of the term right arrow curving left 8. The superior man bends his attention to what is radical. That being established, all practical courses naturally grow up is the translation by James Legge, A scholar. The 3 arrows of red light rushed forth. The lethal 3 arrows that dissolved nearly all of the star energy in Yanqing's body were immediately launched. 3 twinkling arrows, just like the red radiance of the sun, successively faded away without warning. The Ghost Cavalry King only saw a wisp of bright red flash by in front of him. Then, the 3 arrows penetrated into his stomach. There was howling and shrill scream, and a wide expanse of red light burst out from the Ghost Cavalry King's body. The ghost's body seemed to be branded a complete red. Suddenly he was all split up and in pieces, a frightening heat that forced everyone to look away. Yanqing groaned. The 3 arrows' lethal crossbow disappeared in her hand, and the girl lost her strength, her body turning limp. Su Xing barely caught her with one hand, but that still was not enough as he collapsed onto the ground. A section of the black clouds shrouding Stone Tablet City ignited, then slowly dissipated. The broken-down shadows again condensed into the Ghost Cavalry King's body, only that this time, his body was dim without light, even more feeble than when he had just emerged from the devil-suppressing steel. Su Xing's heart sank when he saw him. He bitterly smiled. The Ghost Cavalry King proved himself to be the formidable character that a generation ago could contend against Emperor Liang. Struck by the 3 arrows' lethal crossbow, the divine ghost had been nearly extinguished, but he still was not completely wiped out. The hearts of everyone present could not help but turn up a feeling of powerlessness. "You damned star generals!" The Ghost Cavalry King's voice was deep and low, a coarse crowing that was also filled with surprise. The Ghost Cavalry King immersed himself in martial arts for several dozen years. He practiced the Ghoul Clan's clan-suppressing devil art, Supreme Ghost Body, to become the Ghoul Clan's absolute genius to stand off against Emperor Liang. He had never experienced the era of a star duel before, and he was only limited to hearsay regarding the famous name of the Liangshan Maidens star generals. Although he had heard of a legend of offering the star generals as a tribute to the gods, the Ghost Cavalry King actually very much felt it beneath his dignity. In his eyes, that was nothing more than the soft-hearted game of women, but this time nevertheless thoroughly shocked him. His supreme ghost body practiced to nearly the peak contributed to his indestructible body. Originally, Emperor Liang only relied on the devil-suppressing steel in order to subdue him, and now, the strange killing moves of 2 famous star maidens had almost exterminated the supernatural beings he so meticulously refined. Indeed, it was inconceivable. Up until now, the Ghost Cavalry King had considered himself to understand why he originally heard people called star generals as fiend stars under heaven. The martial arts, unique skills and weapons of these star generals simply were outrageously valiant. However, in Wu Xingjia's eyes, the Ghost Cavalry King was indeed clueless of his own strength. The 5 star generals already exhausted their strength, but this Ghost Cavalry King still had not fallen. This still was a Ghost Cavalry King that lost his arrogance. Breaking away from the devil-suppressing steel, he greedily wanted to consume a star general, yet he was not able to immediately be restored to his peak. "Hey!" The Ghost Cavalry King angrily shouted, raising all of his magic energy. The Ghost's God's Bane flung into the sky, and a black light circulated. Ghosts converged, and in the blink of an eye, the demon blade formed an imposing and seething evil dragon. The Ghost Cavalry King formed seals with both hands, already determined to consume these star generals to restore himself. 6 paths of reincarnation, evil dragon swallows the gods. Ghost's God's Bane kill? The evil dragon opened its big mouth and screamed as it went to swallow everyone. Su Xing breathed deeply, clutching the profound star barrier to put up one last fight. Just at this moment, a solemn incantation that seemingly came from beyond the 9 firmaments mysteriously and inexorably sounded. That voice was like a Buddhist chant in paradise, yet also like the light-singing ode of the Xian Nu, Tu, above the clouds of the 9 firmaments. The words of the voice passed in a disciplined fashion that even the deaf could hear. Stone Tablet City's dark clouds dispersed, the dim light receding. Green light penetrated the black clouds and fell straight into this mundane world. In the blink of an eye, It became a deep black torrential downpour that beat on the evil dragon. The green rain splashed and dispersed, flecking spots of dark light. The imposing fiendish demon dragon immediately underwent repeated lashings and became a black demon saber, but this demon saber was indeed fierce. Even if it had been violently brushed by this green rain, it still unstoppably chopped toward Su Xing. Su Xing, Shi Yuan cried. She threw the devil-suppressing steel, and Su Xing easily caught it. Lifting it, the devil-suppressing steel transformed into an enormous mountain that pressed towards the ghost's god's bane. A loud rumbling sound. The demon saber wailed, and it was executed on these grounds. The devil-suppressing steel released a golden light that immediately severed the demon saber's divine intent. The ghost cavalry king changed, spitting out a mouthful of black fog. His entire spirit void body became even dimmer, just like how a flickering candle could extinguish at any moment in the wind. When the legendary star maidens conducted their star duels, the unconcerned and the like would all withdraw. With this sudden change, the ghost cavalry king even believed he had truly broken a taboo. Though his heart was resentful beyond compare, he knew it was ill-advised to stay for long. Hatefully glancing at Su Xing, the ghost cavalry king did not further dare to delay, turning into a spirit and escaping. Stone Tablet City in a split second dispelled the clouds and saw the sun, restored to clear and bright conditions. We unexpectedly won, Wu Xinjie said blankly. Su Xing, young master, big brother, a tender shout, and Lin Yingmei and the rest were too late to be glad they made a narrow escape. Su Xing saw the crisis was averted, and his whole body immediately lost its strength. Only at this time did he feel that all the bones in his body had completely shattered. Not a single one of his muscles or internal organs was intact. This kind of star master that would definitively hand over his life for his star generals made Yan Qing moved when she witnessed it. And Suwen hastily spread medicine to staunch his bleeding, the child and mother linked heart's needles sticking into several of Su Xing's crucial acupuncture points. Big brother, hang on. The divine physician unceasingly yelled. Su Xing's consciousness was more and more heavy. Through his hazy consciousness, it seemed like he saw a young girl in the sky make a peeping expression from within the clouds. He glimpsed her gracefulness, and then he finally lost consciousness completely. Seeing Su Xing finally could be counted as stable, the girls breathed a sigh of relief. Wu Xinjie had Shi Yuan tidy up the surroundings, and then she looked at the equally utterly weak and vital energy debilitated skillful star. Yan Qing, do you want to sign a contract with young master Su Xing? Wu Xinjie asked. If she signed a contract with Su Xing, not only could he completely recover, Yan Qing also could restore herself. On the basis of the 3 arrows lethal crossbow that Su Xing moved Yan Qing to mobilize just now, she believed Yan Qing could not possibly have thoughts of not signing a contract. Yan Qing's expression was extremely light. Glancing at Su Xing, she did not at all conceal that she took a liking to him, yet she declined. Yan Qing can sign a star duel covenant with anyone, but I cannot contract with him. What do you mean? Lin Yingmei's beautiful brows rose, indistinctly unhappy. This kind of unhappiness purely originated from her master being rejected. Wu Xinjie did not feel this was out of expectations at all. She thoughtfully smiled. Are you feeling whether or not our master has Lin Chong yet? Yan Qing nodded. Su Xing having 4-star generals was already universally shocking. Wu Xinjie laughed. You truly are just as Bao Xiaoyu described, the type that tries to not offend anyone. The knowledge star sighed. The star generals used schemes to find their contractors. Unlike Yan Qing, who unexpectedly felt because Su Xing's star generals were too many in number that violated established duels, the other star generals would not sign if things were unfair. You have met her? Yan Qing's tone was slightly cold. Don't be like this. Wu Xinjie waved her hand. We did not harm the savage star at all. On the contrary, it was she who informed us of your matter of recruiting a master. We heard that you helped refine her weapon to 1 star. Xinjie still is not too convinced, but right now, I am sure of it. You truly are an exceptional sister. Yan Qing did not doubt her words. If she was not excessively trusting, the savage star still could not possibly inform others of secret matters such as her star weapon. But to make the savage star god of death be this confident in them, the skillful star truly felt that the man in front of her eyes was more and more mysterious. Wu Xinjie then added, "It is out of the question that our master is a good person, but neither is he an unscrupulous person for the sake of the star duels. Perhaps it is because of this that he can contract with we four sisters." Skillful star wanderer Yanqing, "If you wish to be chivalrous, then as you wish, but just how many people can you save like this? Besides, you intended to recruit a master, and it may be assumed that you are not a naive person." Yanqing muttered to herself, brooding. Wu Xinjie knew that she need not say any more. Yanqing seemed apathetic and heartless when, in fact, her heart was as meticulous as needles. Otherwise, she would not pose a riddle challenge to arrange a heavenly star's master recruitment. "Let's quickly leave, strong enemies are approaching," Wu Xinjie called out. "In the event you are willing to become sisters with all of us and wait upon master, then please, come with us. If you do not wish so, we will not say anything more. As long as you are not an enemy someday, Yanqing, when we meet we can still enjoy wine and song. Come for a refined mind of a willow pond locked in smoke." What the knowledge star said seemed sincere and plain when actually, she secretly used enjoy wine and song as well as the absolute for all eternity to lock in Yanqing, not worried that she would not be moved. Yanqing was taciturn. Propping her body up, she walked towards a corner. Little Li Shirshi's appearance was unsightly pale. "This servant is very regretful for this affair. This servant must trouble you to use several silvers to console the common people that suffered this calamity." Pausing, Yanqing continued to say, "From now on, please do not use any further the name of Li Shirshi." Li Shirshi inarticulately nodded. Because she deliberately arranged everything, she was not opposed. Seeing a rare peculiarity appear on that cold and detached face of little Yi's, she subconsciously asked, "Little Yi, where are you going?" Yanqing turned her head to look at the backs of Wu Xinjie and the rest lending their arms to carefully support Su Xing. That worry that hung on the panther head Lin Yingmei was reflected in her eyes. Not only did the majestic star who never signed a contract actually sign a contract, she was even concerned about her contractor. All of this made Yanqing feel touched. "Little Yi has already found her master," she lightly answered. A vortex roamed in the sky above Stone Tablet City, the clouds turning and rolling. A nondescript and dust-free girl stretched forward her real body. Those eyes clean to the point of lacking the slightest amount of filth turned, then she hid into the clouds, escaping towards another place. Soon after, an even more powerful figure descended. Emperor Liang found the fourth prince, Zhao Cheng, huddled in a corner of a park. Seeing the battered and exhausted appearance of his own son, this monarch of the great Liang dynasty's golden age did not say much at all. After Zhao Cheng awakened from his fear, he then saw an imposing back on the balcony, wearing a magnificent dragon brocade, adorned with a tasseled golden dragon crown. Although it was only his back, a kind of powerful pressure forced him to sweat profusely. He was precisely the current head of the royal family, Emperor Liang. "Imperial Father." Zhao Cheng's voice shook. "You have made Imperial Father very disappointed." Emperor Liang held both hands behind his back, his voice calm. "Originally, you chose the ghoul's secret arts. We, three, then knew what you were planning. We were under the impression that you ought to have known you were unable to manage that ghost cavalry king. What a pity, what a pity, this child and subject should die." Zhao Cheng was ashamed and uneasy. If it was not for Lin Chang's master, this child and subject and Yanqing would already. "A dispute is a weakling's conduct," Emperor Liang softly said. Zhao Cheng immediately closed up his mouth. Defeat is precisely defeat. For words that were light yet resounding and powerful. This child and subject has received instruction. And cutting off your arm shall act as your price. Always remember him. Are you aware of how much trouble the release of supernatural beings can give rise to? However, that is not at all the worst matter. Imperial Father was already a monster in those sections. A general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers is a natural law. Zhao Cheng's pupils spun as he promptly blurted out. A general achieves renown over the dead bodies of 10,000 soldiers. Well said. You have not yet made us completely disappointed. Emperor Liang laughed heartily, pleased. Standing on the hall, he tilted his face as he gazed into the distance, overlooking the boundless earth underfoot. He did not know just how many bones of the dead he buried. Just at this time, a star in the sky flickered with crimson light. Zhao Cheng saw this scene, and his expression was even more unsightly. That legend at last has begun. Emperor Liang's voice was faintly discernible. 3 clear fields. 5. A flying sword hung in the air, and on the sword was a youth of faintly discernible immortal wind. The immortal's light on his body protected him. 16 quiet and secluded immortal swords, 6, formed a powerful sword array nearby. The youth calmly directly shot this crimson star. Lifeless Hall's 6-path summit. A black-haired man holding a black steel épée stopped his sword dance as he raised his head. In front of a not well-known discarded palace, the immortal hero princess Gong Kaiwei sat on the halls and slightly looked up. The resourceful strategist Zhu Wu slightly lifted her eyes. Zhao Hanyan and the steadfast star Dong Junqing also continuously gazed at that newly born crimson star. At this very moment, all living things under heaven each lifted their heads to look up. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon left the divining star platform perfectly contented, a purple-marked jade pendant already in his hand. The crimson star in the sky was dazzling, and he burst into loud laughter. Has the birth outline finally begun? First volume, Liangshan Outlaws, End. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.